truth live from where they decree it. Sylvia speaks, no filter, no buffer. Courtroom drama couldn't get any tougher.
When the gavel's first bang, to the witness stands tears. Sylvia's lens captures all your hopes and fears. Uploading justice one trial at a time. Tuning every moment, edges sublime.
Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Faces tell stories, the courtroom can't hide. Sylvia's insights cut through the divide. From jury talks to the lawyer's secret. In Sylvia's world, you know you'll need it. Behind the scenes where whispers are loud, her lens reveals the truth in the crowd. Courtroom secrets laid bare to see. Stay curious with Sylvia Spree. Every objection, every sharp retort, Sylvia's there to give you the report. Exclusive footage no one else can snag. From catchy headlines straight to the tag. Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show. Welcome to the Sylvia Show, oh yeah. She's got the inside scoop, don't you care? With every verdict, the suspense does grow. So hit subscribe, let's start the show.
Faces tell.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm gonna go ahead and continue our footage from the Jackie Johnson's case. After that, later on, I want to have a heart-to-heart with you guys. I need to talk to you guys of some things that's going on, and I want to have a heart-to-heart. So after we finish all of this, I'm gonna come back on, and I want to talk to you guys. I want to talk to you guys from the heart. I was talking to one of my dear people last night, and they said you need to have like a come to Jesus moment. So I'm going to have a conversation with you guys later on because I just need to talk, okay? Did I get your text? No, Deanna, I didn't get your text. But I'm going to go ahead on and play this. Hold on a second. Share my screen. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Hold on. There we go. All right. You ready? This is, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put in X because X is the one that has given me more views because people on YouTube are not watching this. But X, I've had like 600-700 people in the chat watching at once. So I'm going to add X in here. YouTube is where I get my funding, but X is not. But maybe one day X folks will move over. All right, here we go. See how casual they are with the conversation with each other? This is the guy that's on the stand right now. You know, the ex ex-DA. See how casual their conversations are. It's like it's so weird. We just finished lunch. We're back from lunch, and you see how this is. You see how comfortable they are with each other. They're very comfortable. Hold on, we get ready to go. I'm fast forwarding now. I'm gonna fast forward till you get to his seat. Okay, there you go. He's going on to his seat now.
Does the judge only want us back the phone?
Thank you, Judge.
There we go.
Welcome back, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Would you mind moving that microphone a little bit towards you? Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Barnhill. Can you just kind of give me a test 1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Perfect. So before the break, we were talking about the meeting, watching the shooting, all of that stuff. Do you recall that?
Yes.
All right. From that incident, when you're talking about a victim, who are you talking about in that instance?
About Arbery.
Okay.
Or Arbery.
Arbery. Yes. All right. So after the meeting, you leave. Fair enough.
Correct. We went home.
So what happens next? Is there something the next morning, or are you waiting on something to happen? What's the next thing that happens?
Well, I think on the trip back, I told Michelle it was going to be her case. And that was really kind of it for us. I mean, we had left with direction for them to prepare and type their reports and get a copy of everything and get it to us as soon as they.
Guys, y'all notice how nonchalant he is on the stand in regard to dealing with Ahmaud Arbery's case. He's the one who said that the killing was justified. He is the one that signed off on it. You guys heard his testimony yesterday of some of the things he was saying. He was very, very, very nonchalant. Like Ahmaud Arbery's life did not matter at all. But you can continue watching this, okay?
Good.
And is that what you were waiting on?
Yes.
So what is the next thing that maybe you remember specifically or generally? What is the next thing that you remember?
The next, because we go back to Waycross and go back to what we just normally do every day. Which, if you worked in a DA's office, it's like pretty much the same. We work on cases. Thursday, I got buzzed and they said that it was
sorry, who was they?
They had been one of my staff, and I think it was Vicky Smith, the secretary. But it might have been another secretary. But anyway, she said that they had the mother of the Brunswick victim on the phone, and she didn't know who to put her to. And I said, well, I'll talk to her. So I spoke to I think Wanda Jones just briefly, told her we didn't have a report. But we didn't have any way to get in touch with her. But that we would try to trade information that we were waiting.
Now, he lied about not having a way to get in contact with her. Because you remember on her testimony, when she got up on the stand, she said someone contacted her. A police officer contacted her and told her that her son basically was dead and that it was because of a robbery. And so how did they get her number? How did they know to contact her on her phone? Because that police officer's number was not in her phone. Because remember, in her testimony, she said it was an unknown number. She answers unknown numbers because she knows that, she has family members and she don't know what could be happening. So she always answers her calls. So, this man is on the stand. He's lying because he says we had no way of contacting her. Now, that doesn't make sense, does it? Does it, y'all?
Report from Brunswick.
Now, at the end of the meeting at the Glenn County Police Department, I need to ask you a direct question about something. Did you say something to the effect of, I've handled hundreds of cases and this is about as self-defense as it gets?
I don't remember making that statement in those terms, no.
Okay, in those terms, did you make a statement?
I mean, my memory is that I told them that basically, with what they showed us that day, that we agreed with them. They looked like they're, so.
I have a question. Why isn't he not being charged? Why is it Jackie Johnson the one that's being charged and not him? He's the one who said that it was a justified case, a justified killing. Why he's not being charged? Interesting, isn't it, y'all? Isn't it?
A self-defense case, but we needed to get it all together.
Okay, all right.
So, I mean, you know, they had not taken a warrant. They made basically a presentation to us, or a briefing, however you want to put it. They didn't really ask us any type of questions. They didn't need help with a warrant, and they just, they didn't seem to need help with a search warrant. They just told us what they had and what they were doing. And I said, okay, well, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I see where you're coming from.
So if that's the conclusion, that at this point it looks like self-defense, why are you taking it to the grand jury? Why don't you just close it?
That's a policy we've had since I worked for Donnie Dixon back in the 80s. We would take cases like that. And you know, cases evolve too. Cases evolve.
Cases change.
Cases change. We've had people we've kept in jail for months that all of a sudden are dismissed and let go, and somebody else is indicted. We've had people get charges changed. I mean, you know, they need to, law enforcement, it's kind of like that old TV show. The people are represented by two distinct groups, and their job is to investigate and get it. Our job is to prosecute those cases they produce and get to us. But on anything as serious as a murder case, we generally would present those to the grand jury. Because, again, I came from a small circuit, smaller towns. Everybody already knew about it. They all wanted to know what the status was. And that was sort of, even when law enforcement had not taken warrants, oftentimes that would resolve the issue.
Now, we talk about what happens after. So Thursday, yes. What happens after Thursday?
Well, Thursday, I think Thursday, if my memory serves right, I think the AG's office called me and told me that I'd been appointed, or they were appointing me. And normally Karen Crittenden would call and say, will you take this case? And I told her sure. And usually that's a very short phone call. And then they'll mail you an official letter that says you've been officially assigned.
Okay, snail mail, what we call it?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember if she faxed it or emailed it. Generally, it just came in the stamped mail.
Okay. In instances where it might be emailed, did you ever have an instance where it might be emailed?
I don't really remember that, and because. And again, that comes up later on when I'm trying to get in touch with AG's office about a month later, and I ain't got any emails for them. All right, maybe y'all have to put your emails on the web, the World Wide Web.
For 10.5 million Georgians.
DAs do it, man.
So,
you see how you think it's a joke?
After you get eventually at some point you get the letter. Is that fair?
Yeah. I won't tell you that she didn't send it to me before, but I know I got a copy of it, and it seems like it came by mail.
When you get this letter and this order, is there something you're supposed to do with it as the confirmation?
Yeah, we file a copy with the clerk, and normally we'll send a complimentary copy to the sheriff or whoever runs the courthouse. But you file a copy of it with the clerk of court.
What is the purpose in this case? You're from the Waycross Judicial Circuit.
Correct.
You're going over to the Glenn Judicial Circuit.
Correct.
Which clerk are you filing it with?
It would be the clerk in Glenn County. At that point, so anything that comes in, they would be able to notify us.
So that,
but now,
and that's what I was about to say. For what purpose are you notifying these folks?
In case any kind of court action comes up, they notify us, just like if you're so. Now, this case might be a little. I'm trying to think, because the clerk would not have had a warrant to attach this order to.
Now,
But I'm thinking we filed it with her, but we might have been waiting on a warrant. I really hadn't thought about that in a while. But the official way to do it is you file it with the county where it came from. Normally, there's a case pending. Normally, most of those conflict cases come up usually about the time of arraignment.
now, so at some point that comes in the mail. You file. Is anything going on at this point, or is it just kind of a quiet period?
Well, like I said, I talked to Ms. Jones and told her, and it was a very brief conversation. That nobody had been in touch with her. We didn't have a file. I didn't even know her name. I mean, had
that been passed on to you in any way?
No. I mean, I gave it to Tammy Horlock, our victim assistant, and I talked to her and told her to try to find out. And either that Thursday or Friday, somebody from the AG's office had called Tammy and said that Ms. Jones had called them. Maybe they told her to call us, and I can't remember. And Tammy was aware of that, but again, didn't have an address or a phone number or anything.
So at this point, are you just kind of trying to understand who that is and what kind of information you can help with that sort of stuff?
I mean, because normally you open a file, we set up a paper file and we do what's called a tracker file. The tracker's a case management system, which basically you can attach reports and you enter all that stuff in there.
Is it a system that a lot of prosecution officers?
It's supplied to us free from the Prosecuting Attorneys Council on a statewide contract. I know there's a few counties, the big ones they have their own system and didn't want to join it, but pretty much everybody, I would guess out of the 159 counties, just a random guess, 145 or so our own tracker.
It generally allows you to kind of manage your cases, information, that sort of stuff.
It's got far more things than I would ever use on it. You can make pie graphs, you can look up who's doing what, all kind of things.
All right. So you have that brief conversation with Ms. Cooper Jones. Do you know what happens next? Or is it just kind of a quiet period?
Well, I mean, Michelle had the case. I mean, I wasn't, I'm the DA. I gave her the case. So any interaction was between her and Glenn PD.
So, well, let me kind of fast forward this a little bit. At some point, do you start getting threats?
And it's a combination of threats. It's a combination of complaints. It's like this thing's taken off on Facebook. It's taken off in the media. And it's just growing and growing. And just all of a sudden, it's like the national news wants to pick it up. And we're like, I know Michelle kept harping at them. I would ask her if we got a report. She got a partial file. She dealt with Lowry. And I think for whatever reason, stuff was trickling over and she would send them notes like, this is what we still don't have. You sent me a few pages, and on these pages it says you interviewed X, Y, and Z. Well, where are their interviews? And I know they sent us some stuff one time that she couldn't open. They had to resend it on a different format. And you go back in time, about the time this case started, COVID was starting. It had not really hit. But then within a week to 10 days, you had people dying in Albany. And that had hit the news that people had COVID in Albany and were dying.
And did things start shutting down around March of 2020?
About mid-March, I think, is when we got the judicial order to shut down court to keep people away from each other.
And that comes from the Supreme Court of Georgia, right?
Supreme Court of Georgia.
It's not something George Barnhill can do much.
No, and the reason for that was that shut down grand jury. We were not allowed to convene trial juries or grand juries, or I think for a while we were not allowed to convene hearing dates. Okay. We were busy at that point in time. Nobody was really working on cases so much. We were busy we were given the task to review jail lists and throw everybody out of jail that we did not have to absolutely keep. And Ware County's got about a 500-bed jail. We would keep about 400 in there. Brantley's about a 80-bed jail. Pierce is about a 110-bed jail. Coffee's about a 500. Now, when I say 500 bed, they hold about 350 to 400.
I'm not trying to cut you off.
Yeah, but that's what took over our life. That took, and so we weren't really working on any case file.
But it's something where you getting threats.
Yes, I got threats.
All that.
I got things like, I got cards in the mail. I got pictures of me in a Klan outfit that people had graphically made. I got threats toward me, threats toward my family, threats toward my children. My son was working down here. He got threats. We had a multitude of phone calls. We unplugged our fax machine. We, for a while, unplugged our office phone call. Our office phone was unplugged. But then that didn't affect us as bad as you may think, because we were all working from home.
At the same time,
We had skeleton staff at the office every day. Go ahead.
At the same time, did you decide at some point to recuse your office?
We were waiting on a full report from Glen PD. I was waiting on the autopsy to get finished, thinking that would answer some of the questions with this case. I actually called the crime lab and asked them to expedite the autopsy, and they assured me they would. They were under the same COVID restrictions we were. I don't know if that was really, if you've had to deal with autopsy people, you know. So as the month wore on, we were getting more and more threats, and it was just bizarre. I'll be honest, we'd never faced anything like this. You might have one curmudgeon or somebody softly under their breath make some comment, but we were getting a deluge of threats from overseas, from all over the country. I don't know, America locked down, nobody was working, everybody was sitting around the house and was angry at the world, I guess. So at that point, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I was going to say, at that point, you what?
I had Michelle wanted off because she just wasn't about it. She wasn't going to have people threatening her. Tammy Horlock wanted off. My wife wanted me to get off because she would talk to my son. They had just had a newborn baby. And so finally I said, fine, we'll get off.
So did you follow the same procedures that you always have, and you send a letter to the Attorney General's office and or call and say?
Well, I called the Attorney General's office and nobody was answering the phone. Y'all were all at home. But then I tried to get an email address, and that took the better part of the day, because and of all people, Michelle had some because we had just worked on a death penalty case through habeas and final appeal on that. She had 2 or 3 from the death penalty litigation. And so I emailed them trying to get Karen Crittenden's email. And then I think Karen emailed me back. Okay. And so, it was time that we wanted to get off. And Ms. Jones wanted us off. And I think, like I tried to describe in, I think the letter to the AG's office, I think people were giving her incorrect information. I don't know this, but I think maybe she was mistaken. Initially, me and my son were the same person. I know there was an allegation that my son had gone to high school and graduated with Travis McMichael, and that the dad, Greg McMichael, had worked for us. I don't know that these people even knew Ms. Jones or the dad, Mr. Arbery. I don't know they even knew him. People were just throwing stuff, see what stick to the wall, I guess. And then it'd be on Facebook. And then next thing you know, it's picked up and run in the Atlanta paper. And you're like, where are you getting this stuff?
When do you think that you notified the Attorney General's office of your conflict?
I was trying, this would have been, March. This would have been in there about April. It was a Friday that I was trying to get in touch with them and frustrated and couldn't. And it was Monday, I think, when I finally got in touch and told them we needed off. I think there was something in there like April the 3rd was a Friday. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but it was either that, and it seemed like it was that Monday that I finally was able to fax the letter up there. But I might have talked to Miss Crittenton on Friday. I can't. Seems like I did. I know Michelle had talked to Tom Jump, and she told me that I needed to call Tom Jump. I was like, why? And she's like, well, you just need to talk to them. They just all out of sorts. So I'm like, well, okay then.
So did you call Tom Jump?
I did, and
Okay.
briefly talked to him.
And what did you briefly talk to Tom Jump about?
Oh no, we were getting off the case, that it was just too much going on. And at that point, it didn't matter what we did with the case. Whatever the outcome was, that it was just, we could not, you cannot operate in that kind of scenario.
And did you memorialize that in a letter to Mr.
Well, I did, but that letter was more of a response of, the gist of that conversation was that he wanted me to send him something to, I thought, I don't know what he thought that he was saying, but I took it to mean, and you can't look at these things in a vacuum. Glenn PD was in a bad way that we didn't understand. The initial Monday, nobody told us on that Monday that they were holding grand jury that following Thursday to indict the chief of police, the ex-chief of police, the head of the narcotics division, somebody else. Apparently had sent target letters or to another dozen or so people. I can remember later when we found out about that indictment, which would have been like that Friday. I can remember me and Michelle at some point, either that Friday or the next week, talking about maybe that's why they kind of acted. Apparently they all knew about it Monday when we went to go meet with them. The grand jury to indict a whole bunch of them was meeting on Thursday. But nobody told us about it.
Well, let me be clear though, that indictment has nothing to do with the Arbery case. Arbery case, right?
Well, no, not technically, but it's you've got a department in which you're fixing to get felony indictments on what they assume the whole leadership. Yeah, it affects a department.
But I'm asking, is it about any conduct that occurred during the Arbery case?
We didn't see it at the time. We just, well, in fact, I can remember asking Michelle, do you think any of the people in the room were indicted? And then we were able to quickly figure out, no, they weren't.
Right, exactly, they weren't. And again, the indictment of South Grass at Wayne County Police Department, did it have anything to do with the Arbery case, with the investigation?
Not that I could tell. But you can't indict the leadership of any office and it not affect everybody there. Like,
sure,
they're all like looking around like, when's the next big brick gonna fall out of the sky and hit me?
Sure, and I guess my point is, it's not for anybody's behavior in Arbery. That's all I'm asking.
Correct.
Okay.
We were simply trying to figure out why they were so drag about and getting us the report. We just assumed it had to do that they were all being indicted and they had other things. We assumed, and that may be wrong, ask them, that maybe that was why they were dragging their feet, getting everything to us. They were putting out fires closest to the tent.
Now, I think I asked you, did you memorialize your conversation or did you write a letter to Tom Jump?
I did.
All right, I'm showing you what you marked as State's Exhibit number 5.
Okay.
Mr. Barnhill, do you recognize that?
Yeah, that looks like a copy of my letter.
All right, take a look at all 3 pages, please. Make sure that's what it is.
That looks like it.
Does that fairly and accurately depict the letter that you sent to Tom Jump?
It does.
Your Honor, this time state tenders and evidence, State's Exhibit number 5. I have tendered any objection. Your Honor, no objection. Thank you. Yeah, publish your honor. Thank you. There it is. Can you see that up where you are, Mr. Barnhill?
Yeah.
All right. So let me direct you to the top. It says Office of the District Attorney, Waycross Judicial Circuit. It's your office, is it not?
Correct,
And that's you on the left?
correct.
Who is it addressed to?
Captain Tom Jump,
And what is in reference to?
the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery.
Take you to the first paragraph. What are you indicating in the first paragraph?
That we had received the autopsy report, have reviewed it yesterday and this morning. We're waiting on this important evidentiary article before finalizing our opinions.
So now you start talking about how the victim's mom, who you now know is Wanda Cooper Jones, correct?
Correct.
That she didn't want you on the case anymore. Is that fair?
She had not wanted us on there for at least a week or 2 weeks. She dealt mostly with Tammy, and then Tammy would come down and talk to me, and I knew that she basically wanted us off.
Okay, all right. And I believe you indicate why in your letter, correct?
I think so. My son worked down there for a green rifle, correct?
And so you say, as such, what?
Which part is
Halfway through your second paragraph.
that there's been other unfounded allegations of bias. As such, I believe it's better for my office to step out, and I'm going to recuse myself from my assistance working with me from handling this case. I am contacting the Georgia Attorney General's office, seeking their assistance in finding another district attorney to handle it further, and for further evaluation of prosecution of this case.
And then that is
to determine whether there's sufficient evidence on whether to make a grand jury presentation or not.
all right. So those first two paragraphs, you're saying, hey, I'm getting out. Send to the AG's office for them to reassign so somebody can make a grand jury call. Is that fair?
Correct.
All right. In your mind, is it well, in the last paragraph here, you start talking about what we call the judicial emergency order. Is that what happens with COVID-19 and the shutdown?
Yes.
Okay. Flipping to page 2 here. So let me take you to the first top portion. Do you see those first 3 lines?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And would you read the first paragraph for us?
After talking by telephone with you yesterday, I appreciate there's immediate pressure on your department as to the issue of arrest.
Okay.
Since I've already given you an initial opinion the day after the shooting, I feel I can still comment on this limited issue.
Okay. So the immediate pressure on your department as to the issue of arrest,
Mhm.
is that right? When you say you've given an initial opinion, what initial opinion are you talking about?
Well, I agreed with him. It looked like self-defense.
And then after that, where you say first, what do you start talking about?
Just about myself, because my understanding I didn't know who their chief of police was. I didn't know if they knew who their chief of police was going to be day to day.
Sure.
They were, like I said, my understanding, they were given a turmoil. So I didn't know who the chief would be, if it'd be somebody I knew or somebody they had hired from out of state.
And so how does that apply in that paragraph? We start talking about how many cases you had, how many cases that you've prosecuted,
It's
and stuff.
Just who I am and where I'm from.
In your mind, was it helping establish your credibility in making this determination?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we had not come back lightly.
And so what is the last sentence in that first paragraph? Well, not first paragraph, but where it says the paragraph that starts with first.
The last sentence,
Yes.
myself and one of my senior trial attorneys have reviewed the evidence extensively and concur on all points.
All right. So at that point, you concur. Is that right?
Well, I concurred with Michelle, yeah.
All right. And when you say concur on all points, let me ask you to clarify that a little bit, which is are you saying you concur with the police department, or are you saying that you and your staff concur?
Well, me and my staff concur, but we agree with the police department.
Right. And I'm not challenging you. I'm just.
It is. Yeah.
So can you see the second paragraph where you are?
It says, as to the case at hand, it's my professional belief the autopsy confirms what we already viewed as shown on the videotape. That one, photographs from the witness statements immediately the scene, autopsy supports initial opinion. We gave you on February the 24th at the briefing room. After reviewing the evidence at the time, we did not see grounds for arrest of any of the three parties.
All right. Take you to the third paragraph. Can you see it where you are?
Correct. There were, yes.
What does your third paragraph say?
It appears Travis McMichael, Greg McMichael, Brian William were following in hot pursuit a burglary suspect with solid first-hand probable cause in their neighborhood and telling him to stop. It appears their intent was to stop and hold this criminal suspect until law enforcement arrived. Under Georgia law, this is perfectly legal.
Okay. Now, do you see the next paragraph that starts with OCGA?
Correct.
Now, some folks on the jury may not know what OCGA and then those numbers are afterward. What is that?
Official Code of Georgia annotated.
Though we might refer to as Georgia law?
Correct.
Why is the font different in your letter?
Probably where I cut and pasted.
Okay. And what do you copy and paste there?
The law.
Which law?
Well, 17-4-60.
What do we call that?
That's the Georgia, that was the citizen's arrest law.
Okay. You say was, has it changed since?
It's been repealed after this case.
Okay. All right. So what does it indicate?
A private person may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. If the offense is a felony and the offender is escaping or attempting to escape, a private person may arrest him upon reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion.
Take you to the fourth paragraph. Do you see it?
Correct.
All right. And what is the fourth paragraph?
Fourth, it clearly appears Travis McMichael and Greg McMichael had firearms being carried in an open fashion. The investigation shows neither of them to be convicted felons or under felony supervision. They were in a motor vehicle owned by Travis McMichael. Under Georgia law, it is legal to open carry.
Okay, and what is underneath that in the different font?
OCGA 1611-126.
And what is 1611-126?
Basically, it says, Georgia, you can carry a gun. You can carry a gun in open fashion in an open area, and you can carry a gun in your car. Do you want to read it, or just you already got it?
No, that's okay. Actually, I prefer the way you just kind of summarized
Mhm.
it. It's a little better. And now to the third page. And this is the final page, correct?
Correct. I think it's 3.
Okay, guys, can you guys like this live and share it? We need some numbers on this because this is a travesty of how they can cover up something and using legal terms and being able to justify the action that was taken. There was no real investigation. He watched the video. They watched the video and saw the stuff that was done, and they justified it. I'm not getting traction like it should be. Can you guys share it? I'm gonna give you a few minutes for you guys to share this live on your channel, on your feed somewhere. Share it on X, and because X, I took it off the live streaming so they could come over here and listen to it over here. Who already shared it already for me? Who shared it? Hey, Sasha. Have you guys shared it? Anybody shared it? Because you guys are just sitting here, just watching and not sharing it. Because we need this. This is some important stuff. Please check and see. You hit the like button. Yes. This is some important stuff. You know, we sit around, we allow a lot of stuff to happen in this. Thank you, Tease Dope. We're allowed to sit around and let things like this to happen, and we just you had a lot of people on X watching. Yes, I did. Okay, thank you. I did. I had a lot of people on X, but see, I need the numbers on this side because YouTube is what pays me. I don't get paid on X at all, so I'm trying to. I have to make a living. You know what I'm saying? This is my only job, and if everybody's watching it on a free side, it's not helping out at all. I know it's a two-edged sword here, but I'm going to go ahead and put it back on X, but you guys share it so they can come over here. Yeah, I need them to come over here. I put the link, this link over for them to watch it over here, okay? All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish playing it because you guys got to hear what is being said. Not too many people in the courtroom. So you guys, and they're not streaming this, you know? We got to be aware. Knowledge is power. Be aware of some of the things, how certain things are being done in the judicial system, and they're doing it legally, and we're not fighting it. Now I got to give a shout out to Arbery's mom, Wanda. She is phenomenal. She's a strong woman. And, you know, and I'm still torn between them charging Jackie Johnson. I really, and I know everybody says she's part of the system, but she's really low on the totem pole. I think she's being used as a scapegoat, as a person that, you know, the one they thrown under the bus to still fulfill their agenda. You get what you get what I'm saying? To fulfill their agenda. All right.
For the first paragraph on page 3, the one that begins with fifth. This is kind of a long paragraph, correct?
Correct.
All right. I think everybody in here can read it for themselves. So if you will, kind of give the jury a little bit of context of your analysis here in the fifth paragraph.
Well, we have the video, and the video shows Arbery running across the right side of the truck, abruptly turning 90 degrees, and what?
Lavender Violet. See, that's the problem. Cases never get attention unless it's a celebrity behind it. And that's pretty sad that people only listen to stuff that affect us only when a celebrity's involved. And it's sad. It is sad. And then Jeffrey didn't even go all the way to the end, like we would like it to happen. You know, we only get interested in this a celebrity. And things are being done to regular people every single day. There needs to be some interest in it. Yeah, YSL was the interest because what? Because of Jeffrey. Because you see, they're not even paying attention now. That's why they're allowed to do stuff to people, because folks only concerned when it has somebody with some money behind their name. And it's sad. It's very, very sad. It's very, very sad.
The evidence was shown to us and appeared to show is that he jumped on Michael, who was standing at the front corner of the truck. A skirmish ensues, in which it appears Arbery strikes McMichael and appears to grab the shotgun and pull it from McMichael. The first shot went through Arbery's right hand palm, consistent with him grabbing and pulling the shotgun at the barrel tip. The second and third wounds consistent with a struggle with the shotgun as depicted in the video.
You start talking about the blood plume.
Correct. That's the second shot.
Okay. Is that important to you?
Yes, it is. I mean, that shows that is a body shot. Either the
thank you, Tamika.
But see, again, when we got the case, you've got what appears to, it's either an entry and an exit on the body or two entries and one exit. But then when we got the autopsy, it showed that was true, that one did not exit. And I guess that was part of the elimination as to which shot was first. It was our determination the first shot went to the palm of the hand, which was consistent with grabbing the gun.
So, and then kind of, you know, I think it's another paragraph. You see where it says just as importantly?
I don't know if I can see that. Where?
Kind of fifth from the bottom.
Might need to move it up some. So that's what I can see is on the screen. Oh, right where it says, given the fact Arbery initiated the fight At the point he grabbed a shotgun under Georgia law, McMichael was allowed to use deadly force to protect himself. Just as importantly, while we know McMichael had his finger on the trigger, we do not know who caused the firing. Arbery would only have to pull the shotgun a 1/16 of an inch to an 1/8 of an inch to fire the weapon himself. And at the height of the altercation, that's entirely possible.
What's the last sentence say?
Arbery's mental health records and prior convictions help explain his apparent aggressive nature and the possible thought pattern as to the attack of why he would attack an armed man.
Now, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
How many murder cases have you done?
Like I say, hundreds, several hundred.
Lots of self-defense ones.
Well, it comes up pretty regular, yes.
All right, your last sentence there, mental health records and prior convictions. What is your experience in court with whether those come in a murder case?
Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It depends.
And are you familiar in the Arbery case with whether they were allowed to come in?
My understanding, the judge kept them out, which is his prerogative, but
now, the next paragraph, the one where there's a different font again, is that where you list justification?
correct.
See that single sentence underneath it?
Correct.
Okay.
For the above and foregoing reasons, is our conclusion, there's insufficient probable cause to issue arrest warrants at this time.
Why did you write that sentence?
I did. I don't know. I mean, that was our belief at the time, that there was, we had gotten all.
You see this? Why did he write that statement? He can't even tell you why he wrote that statement. Y'all, do you see this? He didn't even have full evidence of what was going on, but he wrote that statement, guys. This is crazy. They thought it was a done deal, but because of the strength of his mother, who refused to lay down and let her son character be scrutinized and jacked up, she stood on her ground, y'all. This mother stood on her ground. She had the strength of a mama bear to make sure her son gets justice. And a whole bunch of them need to be arrested in this. Not Jackie Johnson, a whole bunch of them. Yeah, Jackie Johnson is the puppet. Exactly, CMT. They use her as the puppet. They sacrifice her. Because she's not the one who actually did this. She moves herself out the way. And what they do, they come, look, those old boys are still getting away with it. They threw her to the wolves.
Autopsy report. The autopsy had confirmed to us the order of shots, which had not been clear. And the reason for that is that you got the shot cup and the pellets in the abdomen. And that proved to us that the first shot was through the hand.
Let me ask it this way. Why did you communicate that to Captain Jump?
I have no idea why I didn't put it in there.
Oh, you have no idea? What?
That was important to us. I know that.
Why was it important to you?
Comes back to a shotgun and the way a shotgun works. At the time, you narrow these things down to a narrow issue. If Travis McMichael had been pointing the shotgun at Arbery, pointing it at him in an aggressive nature, when Arbery comes around the front of the truck, that would have been an aggravated assault. An aggravated assault, if he then shot him at a foot away, 2 feet away, that would have been felony murder. Or you could claim malice murder, but it's hard to prove malice in the instant. It would have been a closer of a felony murder. Since our determination the first shot was to the hand, that proves that Arbery has grabbed the tip of the gun and is holding it tightly because it was a contact wound that blew out a round circle. If it had been a distance away, a shotgun buckshot would be taking his hand off. We knew that had to be the first shot by process of elimination of the other two. The first day we were there, the belief, there was some talk about he might have been hit with 2 shots or 3. And that was still up in the air, but the autopsy showed he was hit by 3. So how do you get to that? Well, we know from the video that one of the shots puts a blood plume in the air. That's not going to be the hand shot. That's going to either be the chest shot, the shoulder shot. We know that the chest shot, I think, is the through and through the shoulder. But anyway, one of the shots is with the shot cup and most of the buckshot in the body pressed up against the spine. Just from doing this a long time, you pick up things from trials and from people. A buckshot puts out about 1,600 foot-pounds of energy. If you've got the shot cup and the pellet in your body, you've absorbed into your body as opposed to a through and through. You shoot somebody with a high-powered rifle, it will kill them, but it's a through and through, and the bullet keeps going. With a shotgun, where you've hit it and the shot cup and the pellets are there in the abdomen, the body has to absorb those foot-pounds of energy. That could not have been the first shot, or it would have knocked Arbery over. I think the autopsy showed he was 160 pounds in weight. That's a 10-to-1 ratio.
Now, the next sentence, do you see the first sentence in the last paragraph at the bottom?
Says here, as to any further issues on whether to present this to a Blaine County grand jury, that will have to wait for the next district attorney's review. So please consider this an open file until that decision is made and restrict the release of any information under the Georgia Open Records Act request.
So let me kind of go to the non-bold sentence, the first one in there.
Mm-hmm.
Say any further issues on whether to present it to the Blaine County grand jury. So at that point, are you saying anything else beyond what is in this letter? I'm finished. Is that what you're saying?
Basically, it's another DA will take a fresh look at this. Yeah. Don't. I think my understanding was that the police department, Blaine County Police Department, was under a fantastic amount of pressure, getting hit by, at that point in time, numerous news media outlets, from the New York Times to the Washington Post to ABC. I had, what's his name?
See, that's what got them to do what is right. The media putting all this stuff out, letting the world know what's going on. You get what I'm saying? See, they was trying to keep everything hush hush in their little community, but no, the news. That's why this is important. Me being down there is important. Things like that is being important because you don't know what's going on, and it's whatever they want to put out is what you're going to know about. Okay.
The Kumo guy off of CNN called my office 3 times wanting to fly down and interview me for CNN. And I told him, no, don't talk about cases prior to trial. I didn't tell him. I had an office staff tell him. So, they didn't need to be releasing the file subject to an Open Records Act. Otherwise, we were not closing the file. Some of these, when it's an open file, it's not to be released. Open means it's open to law enforcement. That's, I guess, a technical term, not for lay term, that it's open like for everybody to look at.
When you're talking right now, you're starting to talk about the bolded sentence at the bottom.
Yeah.
And when that's a little bit sideways there, I'm just going to fix that a little bit. The bolded sentence, please consider an open file. So what Georgia Open Records Act means that typically, and help me out if I'm wrong here, typically most government documents you can get just by saying, hey, government agency, please send me X, Y, Z.
Correct.
Are there exceptions to that?
Yes.
You take it as subsection A4 of the Open Records Act. Are you familiar with that?
I'm familiar with the act, not the numbers without them in front of me.
Are you familiar with the pending prosecution?
Yes. Pending prosecution is not releasable.
Or the police law enforcement?
Correct. The press can get a copy of what's called the initial face sheet or the initial report,
okay,
which usually is just 1 or 2 sentences of what they investigated. It might say burglary, it might say arson. It may say a name.
But you're not going to get the investigative report.
You're not going to get the investigative report until the file is open. In fact, I think
yes, local news is there.
And again, the legal terminology, if it's an open file with law enforcement, That goes through completion of the Georgia appeals, doesn't it? It might, I think it doesn't apply to habeas.
So,
So, yeah, I'm thinking, and I don't know what the status is on that. It's probably still not an open file.
may I have a moment, Your Honor?
Here come Adam, y'all. Adam's gonna question him.
Your Honor, at this moment, I have nothing further for Mr. Barnhill.
Here come Adam. Here's some Adams, y'all.
Sure.
I proceed, Judge. Thank you. Mr. Barnhill, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir.
My name is Keith Adams. You have spoken previously, not just to the Attorney General's office, but to my colleagues as well. Is that right?
Correct.
Mrs. Steele, certainly. Mr. Clark, Ms. Coleman.
Talked to Steele and Clark, I don't know, about a week ago.
Okay.
Spoke to Mr. Fowler last night for about 10 minutes.
Okay, that's it? Just 10 minutes?
Yeah, really. About 10, I don't know, 15. Thank you.
I can't see you talking for just 10 minutes.
I've restrained myself greatly.
Shot thrown by Adam.
You probably have not spoken to, although you're going to hear, they helped me with the video stuff, Mr. Kokomo and Mr. Mansbach. Okay?
Okay,
All right. So I want to ask you some questions. Is that okay?
sure.
And you are an ex-DA. You are a wealth of knowledge. Is that true? You know a lot.
I guess.
Okay.
I've been around a long time.
You are familiar with the fact of why you're here. You know that you've been called as a witness. True? All right. You are here in a case, involving an indictment by the Attorney General's office against Ms. Johnson.
Correct.
And so you are familiar with what she is charged with, right?
I've read the indictment.
Okay. You know that the state, and when I say the state, the Attorney General's office alleges that she has violated her oath of office, and they allege that she has obstructed or hindered an investigation. You know that.
Correct.
All right. You have therefore been interviewed, and you have been called as a witness to give whatever information you have to perhaps help the jury in making a determination as to whether that happened or whether it did not happen, right?
Correct.
Okay. To that end, I want to go through kind of a timeline with you, starting on February the 23rd and coming all the way to when you got off the case. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. First and foremost, you have indicated that you know Ms. Johnson. You have known her for some considerable period of time.
Yeah. Well, I'm older than her.
Okay.
But I knew her through her dad, and I knew that she went to law school, and I knew when she got out of law school, she was a judge's clerk. Met her through that,
You knew her since before she was a DDA. You knew her as a student.
Well, I knew her. I don't know that I knew her back when she was a student, but I knew that Zach had some daughters.
Okay.
And son.
When she became DA in 2010, and I think you were asked a question by the assistant, the honorable assistant attorney general, and I've known Mr. Fowler for a while, so he doesn't mind me calling him honorable. I've called him other things. You've known Ms. Johnson as district attorney, and you have interacted with her over the years of her tenure as district attorney. True?
Correct.
Okay. Now, so when February the 23rd of 2020 rolls around, and she makes a phone call to you, this is not a unique occurrence. She has reached out to you before.
Yes.
Okay. On February 23rd, in the evening time, it's still daylight, you receive there's a phone call that comes in. True?
Well, I think my son called me and told me to call her, and I called her.
Okay.
I think that's the best of my memory, yes.
Okay. And I mean, Ms. Johnson didn't call you herself. You received notification that she needed to talk to you.
Correct.
And you reached out and you spoke to her.
Yes.
What you came to find out was that she was looking for you to essentially step into the role of advising or meeting with the Glenn County Police Department.
Yes.
Okay. There was an incident that had occurred in Satilla Shores, and because Greg McMichael was involved and because he was an ex-employee of Ms. Johnson's, she did not want to touch the case.
Correct.
And you understood that, and you understood why she did not want to touch the case. Correct. There was nothing wrong with that, given the relationship that she had previously had with Greg McMichael. True?
Well, I think if you read the conflict rules, you've got on-point conflicts like a blood kin or a financial issue.
Actual conflict.
And then you've got the appearance of a conflict for the betterment of basically the community.
Okay.
But you want to avoid those things in which it's an appearance.
And that second one.
And even an ex-employee would give some appearance of wrongdoing.
Right. And you understood, and from talking to Ms. Johnson, that that's what we were dealing with. We weren't dealing with an actual conflict. We were dealing with something that would have perhaps the appearance of impropriety.
Yes.
Okay. Let me put a pin right there. Separate and apart from the reason that she felt she would be conflicted out, you were also familiar with kind of the pattern and practice of when a conflicted DA has a conflict, that they would reach out to a non-conflicted DA, right? You're familiar with that, with that process. It was commonplace, it was routine, it was normal for the Brunswick Judicial Circuit, if they had a conflict, to reach out to the adjoining circuit, which would be your circuit, Waycross, right?
Yes.
There was nothing unusual about that.
Now, over the years, we've handled several cases down here.
In fact, at the time that this incident occurred back in February of 2020, you were already handling other cases that had been conflicted from Glenn County, from the Brunswick Circuit to yours, right?
Yes.
Okay. And of course, when Ms. Johnson, when you speak to her on that afternoon, the 23rd, evening actually, the 23rd, she made it clear to you that Greg McMichael was a former employee. That was clear.
Yes.
You get a call, you speak to Ms. Johnson, and you agree that you're going to assist the Glenn County Police Department with whatever questions they had. Sure? Okay. Now, let's stick right there for a second. At that point, when you realize that Ms. Johnson is out of the case, or she wants out of the case, and you have agreed, you've said yes, it is your case at that point.
Well, it is. I would assume it is, but really it's not mine until I get the order. But I've never had an attorney, let me say, I've never had a DA reach out and ask me to take a case, or my office while I was chief assistant, that if we said yes, that we didn't get the case.
Right, and in fact, I mean, as far as you were concerned, Jackie's out of it, it's ours.
Correct.
Right? You weren't acting as Jackie's surrogate. You weren't acting as Jackie. It was Waycross that was now handling the case, as far as you were concerned.
Yes.
Okay. You knew that once she's out, she's done. She ain't got nothing more to do with it. I'm going to take over from here.
Well, that's why she would have called.
Right.
Now, sometimes a DA will call just to say, let me tell you, I got such and such. What do you think? Mm-hmm. And then sometimes they call like, listen, I'm getting out of this case. Will y'all take it? Sure. And sometimes you say no. I've told Ms. Britton no before. We just had too much going on.
Right. And in this case, it was the latter of the two things you just described. She was out, you're in.
Correct.
Now, talking about police officers and police departments, you knew that this case was involving the Glenn County Police Department.
Correct.
There have been instances or had been instances in the past where you had occasion to answer questions or advise police departments when they had those questions. Not just Glenn County, but other jurisdictions, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. And that also was not unusual.
Not unusual.
In fact, let me, I want to ask you something that I know that you know, and it's already been introduced. It would be, with the court's permission, may I put up joint exhibit number 1, please?
Yes.
And Mr. Kokomo, would you be kind enough to assist me? You talked a little bit earlier, while it's coming up, you talked a little bit earlier about the duties the district attorneys have and obligations and so forth. And so I want to ask you about one in particular, okay? All right, can you see? No, you can't. There we go. All right, so I take it you're looking at the same thing I'm looking at, section 15-18-6, duties of district attorney. You see that in front of you, right?
Yes.
All right, so Ms. Kokomo, with your assistance, let's go down to number 7. All right. Now, you recognize that what we're looking at here in its totality are kind of an enumeration of the different duties and obligations that district attorneys have that have been codified, right?
Correct.
Number 7, tell me if this is correct, that one of the duties that you have is in fact to advise law enforcement officers concerning the sufficiency of evidence, warrants, and similar matters relating to the investigation and prosecution of criminal offenses. That's true.
Correct. Yes.
That is one of your duties.
So it's a duty.
On February 23rd, 2020, that was a duty that you labored under.
Yes.
And you recognized, and that was in fact what you were doing when you agreed to take the case and to go and advise the Glenn County Police Department. Is that true?
Well, I handle the case, and that's part of it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Kokomo. Now, am I correct, Mr. Barnhill, that the conversation with Ms. Johnson on that evening of the 23rd was relatively short, about 20 minutes or so?
In my mind, it doesn't seem that long, but I don't think we really discussed the case that much. I don't think she knew that much about the case when she talked to me. She didn't tell me that. I mean, there were no specific facts. It was just that.
It was a shooting?
Yeah, and, people will gossip sometimes about other things.
But what was clear, though, is that she didn't give you any instructions in terms of what to do other than go meet with the Glenn County Police Department and talk to them, right?
Correct. No instruction or no one way or the other. It's just, listen, well, you handle this case. It's like, well, what kind of case? And I don't think she even, other than telling me Greg McMichael, I don't know that she told me the victim's name, or she didn't give me an officer name. It was just to go to Glenn PD, and they needed to talk to us.
And I'm gonna cut right to it. She did not tell you, hey, look, go over to Glenn County and make sure Greg McMichael's okay. She didn't say that.
Correct. Absolutely not.
She did not say, this is what I want you to tell the Glenn County Police when you get over there. She didn't say that.
Correct.
She did not give you any instructions. She had no expectations. She didn't want you to do anything in particular other than simply go and answer the questions because she could not, or her office could not do it. Is that true?
That is true. Just to go meet with them. I said, I don't think she did not give me an officer's name. We didn't know, because that next day when we went down there, we didn't even have an officer to call to say, hey, we're free, we can go meet. We just knew it was Glenn PD. There's a bunch of them.
And so you have the conversation with Jackie on the night or the evening of the 23rd. Let's scroll forward then to the next day, the 24th. You and Michelle McIntyre have some duties in your own jurisdiction that you complete.
Mhm.
You then, now I know that you gotta say yes or no. There's someone in this courtroom who,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, thank you. You'll finish up what you're doing in your jurisdiction. You'll head over, you and Michelle McIntyre head over to Glenn County at that time.
Correct.
The only conversation or communication you had, communication you had with Jackie Johnson on that day was to send a message or relay that you were on the way over there.
Correct. We're going and again, we didn't have a name of who to go meet. I don't think she gave us a name to go meet. It was just go to Glen PD. And we said we're en route.
And one of the things that you said when you testified earlier is that for a variety of reasons, as far as you thought, right, you assumed that the McMichaels or the person, at least the person who did the shooting, was in custody.
I assume that, yes.
I mean, that you got a situation where someone has shot and killed someone. You expected that person or those persons involved in the shooting would have been arrested.
Well, held. Because in Georgia, you hold for 48 hours.
Right. So certainly taken into custody.
Yeah.
At the
Technically, you've got, that is an arrest, but it would be a warrantless arrest for the first 48 hours.
Okay.
Yes. So I mean, you're using the arrest term and the custody, but held in custody, I assume they had people locked up.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming to Glenn County, you and Ms. McIntyre, you're walking into the Glenn County PD police department, and when you actually get in there, you're kind of surprised to find out that the Glenn County police had not arrested anyone.
Sent them home. Correct.
Sent them home. In fact, you would come to find out, not only did the Glenn County Police Department send him home, but before that, they never handcuffed him, let him come down to the police department on their own, and then drive on home by themselves. That's what you came to find out.
About 3 weeks later, when we got the video interviews of Greg and Travis McMichael, the beginning of, and I don't know if you got those or not. I don't know what you've got or don't have.
Got everything.
Okay. Well, those interviews, and I don't know who the officer is that did the interviewing. He starts both these. I know the one with Travis McMichael, he starts the interview off. The first thing he says before lights or anything is like, listen, Southern, you're going home. We're not arresting you. And I don't know, that was, he did that with both of them, basically took an interview on both of them.
Yeah.
But my memory is the interview of the dad was, his interview mostly started off, we're not arresting your son. He's going to go home tonight. And there was something about changing out of some clothes.
And you saw the video where the officer, like you just said a little while ago, is in the very beginning, before anything else, in that interview room with no handcuffs on, they're just driven themselves to, is saying, listen, you're going home. Don't worry about it. You're going home. You saw that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And so by the time you get to Glenn County Police Department, you had not told anyone the night before or that morning not to arrest anyone. You did not do that.
Oh, I had no contact until, I had no idea who to even contact till they opened the door to the lobby.
After you were in there for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'll say 15. It was a while. I'd already told Michelle what was in some of the pictures, so it might have been 20, but it might have been 14. I don't know. It depends how fast I talk.
So, number one, you had not, by the morning of midday almost, of the 24th, you hadn't given anyone any instructions not to arrest anyone. True? True. You're not aware, Jackie Johnson certainly didn't tell you to make sure when you go down there that no one had been arrested.
She did not say anything like that or even approaching that.
Okay. I'm gonna jump forward a little bit and then come back, because you talked about having seen the video of the interviews a couple of weeks after that, right? What about the body cameras? Did you see the body cameras as well?
The first time I saw a body camera, tape, I believe, was after I'd gotten off the case, and it was, I think it was on TV.
Okay.
Um,
Do you remember, Mr. Barnhill? I'm sorry to cut you off, but
I think they showed us, and again, I don't know this, but I'm assuming they showed us, we watched the film, the cell phone film made by Roddy. We saw some stills, and we saw, I think, a bit of film from the house. The Englishman's house, in English being his last name.
Right.
They showed us some of that house showing the deceased in the house. It would have been just prior to the chase.
Okay. Whenever it was that you saw the body cameras, whether it was in person or through some other medium, do you remember seeing on any one of those body cams where the Glenn County police officers are telling at the scene, telling Travis McMichael that there's no need to handcuff him? Did you remember seeing a video where he's like, "You're gonna handcuff me," and the police officers are like, "Why would we handcuff you?" You remember seeing that?
And again, Michelle was assigned the case.
Okay.
I don't remember seeing that, but I recall Michelle telling me something to that effect, that they were not arrested at the scene.
So that kind of goes into what you were testifying to earlier. You said that it was clear to you that the Glenn County police officers not only had not arrested anyone, but apparently didn't have any intention the night of, right? Of arresting anyone.
Of the shooting.
Right.
Yes.
Right. All of their actions that you became aware of, either from talking to them or seeing video, was clear that they had made a determination, the PD had made a determination that they weren't arresting them that night.
True. Correct.
Okay. And as far as you knew, from everything that you knew, speaking to them that day, and heck, everything you've learned since then, you have nothing to indicate that Jackie Johnson had anything to do with the Glenn County Police Department's decision not to arrest Travis McMichael or Greg McMichael or anyone that night.
I have no knowledge of any of that. No.
Certainly, none of the 6 officers or any of the other ones who came in and out during that period of time you were there, none of them said to you, "We didn't arrest him because Jackie Johnson or someone from her office told us not to arrest him." They never said that to you.
Correct. They didn't mention anybody from the DA's office.
Stephanie Lowry did, Stephanie Oliver didn't, and Stephen Lowry didn't either, did they?
No, correct.
And having seen the indictment, you were aware that count 2 of the indictment, that obstruction and hindering thing, is where Jackie Johnson is alleged to have told Stephanie Oliver and Stephen Lowry not to arrest Travis McMichael. You know that's the indictment.
I've read it, yes.
Right. But you have no information to give this jury to confirm that anyone said that happened or that you are aware of that happening at all.
Correct.
You, throughout the course of this investigation, you had occasion to speak to GBI and other agents who were actually doing some investigating into this case, true?
Correct.
Okay. And I don't remember whether or not you actually spoke to Mr. Steinberg, did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you remember in an interview that you had where you were asked about the arrest? And I know we've been over this, but I want to kind of harp in on your words, right? Mm-hmm. Do you remember telling an investigator that, quote, "It's been widely reported that I told them not to go arrest him"? That never happened. They had made the decision. They didn't arrest him. Do you remember saying that to someone in an investigation?
That sounds probably what I said. I agree. I mean, that was my, we got there that morning, Monday morning. We went back, we basically sat there and they made their presentation. And it was kind of like, well, okay then. They've made this decision. I wasn't sure exactly what they wanted out of us. I mean, I told them I agreed with them from what they showed us. I agreed with them.
And this is an easy question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the district attorney has a lot of power, all right? But so do law enforcement officers, right?
And it's a different power.
Right.
The district attorney has no power to arrest.
That's where I'm going. You're at the scene of a crime as a law enforcement officer. Law enforcement officer has the ability on their own to decide I'm going to arrest someone or I'm not going to arrest someone, right?
Correct.
They don't need you or anyone else to tell them to arrest someone or not to arrest someone. They don't need you to do that.
Correct. They don't work for me.
And you don't work for them.
I don't work for them.
You can advise them, but ultimately they're the ones who make the decision. And in fact, they're the ones who made the decision in this case not to arrest. And when I'm saying they, the PD, the police department, right?
You can also give them advice and they can ignore it because it's just advice. Or as we used to tell them, advice is worth what you pay for it. And they weren't paying us. But you know what I'm saying? We deal with a lot of police agencies, state agencies, local agencies. I couldn't begin to tell you. I think we had 10 cities, 6 sheriffs, the GBI, DNR. Some, they come in all different flavors in my circuit. Some of them work very closely with us. They want you right there hand in hand with them. Some of them, it's sort of like they're out there and you get stuff from them and they're there when you need them, but you never see from them and never hear them. The GBI is always usually a pleasure to work with. If you ever had to work with a group of game wardens, it's the other end of the spectrum. They're going to do what they're going to do, and you have your opinion, and they got their opinion.
They're going to do what they're going to do.
So, I mean, I didn't have any understanding coming over here, really. A lot of that first meeting was trying to size up who we were going to deal with on this. They had made an opinion. They had senior staff in there. They had people that apparently had years of experience. That was their opinion.
At no time, either on the way over here, when I say here, over to Glenn County on the morning of the 24th, while you were here on the morning of the 24th, or after you left on the afternoon of the 24th, at no time did you go to the DA's office, right?
I did not go to the DA's office that day. No, I didn't.
Did you call Jackie Johnson and give her a briefing about what had happened in your meeting with Glenn County Police, right?
No, I did not.
Because that wouldn't have been, there was no need to do that and it would not have been appropriate. It was your case, not hers, right?
Not hers. Now, I did call her later and tell her we needed a grand jury date. And she told me to have my staff call her staff and they'd set a date up. And I think I may have told her it would take all day because we were just going to put it all out.
That was because you were intending to put this matter before a grand jury, right?
Correct.
And it would have had to have been, even though you're in Waycross, it's a Glenn County case.
It would have been a Glenn County grand jury somewhere in this building, I guess.
Right. And in order to find out what the grand jury dates, available dates are, or location, you would have had to have contacted someone. In this case, Ms. Johnson, just ministerially to find out what the dates, available dates are. True?
And to be honest, the DA themselves normally does not set the grand jury dates. It's going to be a staff person that handles that. And that varies by county. Some counties, the clerk sends out the notice. Some counties, the DA sends out the notice. It varies in my my ex office. Some counties, we sent the notices. Some counties, the clerk sent the notices.
You also had, we're talking about the end of February, early March. You also have COVID.
COVID hit about mid-March and the world changed.
Which impacted the ability to put the case before a grand jury or know when a grand jury schedule was going to be. All of those things were impacted.
Grand juries were called off. I can't remember the exact date, but it's third week in March, middle of March. And people were dying. We didn't know.
Mr. Barnhill, while you're at this meeting, you come to realize that the Clinton County Police Department, I don't know if collectively or whatever, a couple of them, whoever was making the decision, they were of the opinion that they thought that this was self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Correct.
In your mind, they didn't arrest anyone because they had already I won't say made up their mind. They'd already made a determination that this was self-defense. We don't need to lock anybody up. That's right. Okay. And that was apparent in your meeting with them, in the presentation they gave you, and everything that they told you that afternoon.
11 o'clock to roughly 11 to 12 o'clock meeting, about 1 hour. Yes.
Nonetheless, because this was now your case, there were things that you wanted done on the case that you thought was appropriate.
Well, a district attorney has options if you go to a meeting like that. You can tell the law enforcement to close their file. And that gives them a shortcut to, we can put this on the back burner and go deal with other cases, because they always have more than they can do.
Sure.
And if the case file is closed, then it's over. Whereas, and I told them basically, no, finish your report. We're gonna present this to the grand jury. I don't know if I conveyed it to them, but I know in my circuit, we do that. We'll take stuff and present it to the grand jury and give the grand jury some options. And again, you never know till you get to the end where you're going to be with something. Things happen, things show up. But with this case, I told them that day, finish your reports.
Finish your reports.
Yeah, type them up.
You wanted an autopsy report.
Well, I assume, I don't know when the body was sent, but now that you mentioned, I don't know where the body was on that Monday.
But you assume the autopsy. Well, let me.
I told them we needed an autopsy.
There you go.
We needed a blood screen.
There were interviews that supposedly had happened that you did not have the substance of, right?
We didn't really have anything. This was, like I said, 18 hours later, and overnight. I don't think they had anything typed up that day.
And so this wasn't something, in your mind, this was going to the grand jury, but there were other things that needed to be done on the case, right?
Well, they had to finish. They had to do all the stuff. You left Glenn County that day, but not before meeting with your son. Take lunch.
Right. George F. He's the F, right? You're the E.
Yeah,
right.
Correct.
So George F., who worked in Ms. Johnson's office, he was an assistant DA.
Correct.
You're here in town, your boys right across the way, you, Ms. McIntyre, and George F. get together, y'all have lunch.
Correct.
They go to the barbecue place, right?
Yeah, someplace it looks like an old huddle house. Out there by the bowling alley.
I don't know outside.
I don't know if you're not from here,
I'm from around these parts.
It was actually my memory.
So y'all,
It was a little place, but anyway, go ahead.
So y'all, the three of y'all get together and have lunch. But what I want to ask you is this. You meet up with George F. He works for Ms. Johnson, but when he walks in, when you all meet for lunch, that this is not, and I'm talking about the investigation in regards to Mr. Arbery's death, this is not something you can talk to him about.
Correct.
And you do not talk to him about it.
Did not.
And he did not seek to get any information from you saying, you know what, tell me what happened so I can go back and tell Jackie. That didn't happen.
Did not happen.
In one of your interviews with the either the GBI or one of the investigating entities, you told them about having lunch with your son. You told them specifically, he walks in, he says, "Don't talk to me about it. you say, okay, I don't know that we would have talked. I wouldn't talk to you about it anyway. You remember telling them that?
That is pretty accurate what happened. Yes, exactly.
All right, let's move forward now. You leave, it's the 24th. The case is going to, when I say going to, Michelle McIntyre in your office is the one who you tasked with handling the case. True?
Correct. Yes.
You come to find out over a period of time that, she's waiting for stuff. They send stuff and you can't open it. But you're actively putting the case together, but you're depending on the Glenn County Police Department to get you what you need to complete this thing, right?
Well, she would complain to me that they weren't sending her stuff. And she's like, she called or texted or emailed. I'm not sure if she was texting or email, probably emailing and calling. And, it's just taking a long time. I mean, departments differ on how fast they type stuff up and whatever their different departments require them to get it done.
But it was taking a while.
I mean, to be honest, nothing against anybody, but the GBI is usually the worst about getting this stuff because they take forever. I don't mean that against you, Mr. Steinberg, but local departments usually have like some sort of a schedule they give their employees. I don't know what it is down here, but we were out there like 2 weeks out and they hadn't sent us anything. And I'd say, well, just keep harping at them. But I saw a lot of people every day. Michelle would mention this to me at the time. I know I was on that side. My office was H-shaped. And she was on one leg over here and I'm on one leg over here. I know I was there one afternoon and she said, stand right there. And I stood in her door and she called Stephen Lowry. And I call him Stephen, but I think y'all call him Stephen. But anyhow, and she kind of read him the riot act about getting stuff to us. And he promised to, get it in the mail that day, type conversation. But I also, as she was talking to Tom Jump, I know she talked to those two. She may have talked to others, but yes, it was taking a long time. We thought to get stuff to us.
Let's move forward a little bit from the 24th to the 27th. All right. So the 24th is Monday. The 27th is Thursday of that very same week. At this point, Mr. Arbery, God forbid, was killed, was murdered on the 23rd.
Correct.
Right? On the 27th, you are aware that, and you receive the actual appointment letter from the Attorney General's office.
I think it was that day. If I didn't get it in the mail, I know that was the day that Ms. Crittenden called me.
That was the formality of you receiving that appointment, but in truth, you already been doing what you needed to do as the new person on the case. True?
Sure.
All right, y'all, I gotta go to the next page. Hold on, y'all. A lot of blaming, shift blaming going on in this thing here. Y'all, a lot of shift blaming. All right, here we go.
Yes.
Okay. And what also happened that day is that you came to find out that Ms. Cooper Jones, the mother of Mr. Arbery, had made contact with the Attorney General's office and then subsequently made contact with your office. And
correct. And I think that kind of came around. I don't remember. I know she called our office and I spoke to her very briefly and told her we didn't know who she was. We didn't have an address or phone number or anything. And I know that there was some contact from the AG's office to Tammy Horlock.
Tammy Horlock is
victim assistant. She's at the time was the senior victim assistant in my office. That they'd called her and said, "Hey, this mother wants some information," and she was trying to get some information from them and to contact and send out what we call the initial packet from victim assistance.
Okay, and. And on that day, you were alerted to the fact that Ms. Cooper Jones had called the office and was in fact on the phone.
Yes.
you subsequently spoke to her?
Very briefly, yes, I did.
And would I be correct that that was sometime in the afternoon, perhaps, of February 27, 2020?
I think it was Thursday afternoon.
Was that recorded?
No,
I think you mentioned, not recorded, I don't mean audio recorded.
it was in I made a tracker entry.
Right, and I think we talked earlier about track. The track is a system where you kind of keep notes about the progress of cases and so forth, right?
Right.
And you had communication with her, and it was there was a tracker entry made for that day, is that right?
Correct.
Do you remember what was put in the tracker entry in regards to what you said to her or what the conversation was?
I think it was just that I talked to her on the phone and that told her that, sorry, we had no way to get in touch with her earlier, that we didn't have her name, we didn't have an address.
Do you have a clear recollection of everything that you told her or spoke to her about
I told
that
her
day?
we were taking the case to the grand jury.
Okay.
She was concerned there was no warrants taken, and I told her, well, that we were looking at that, but that we would take a full case to the grand jury. We would take it all to the grand jury.
What else did you tell her?
That's not all I remember, really. I know it was a very brief phone call.
Let me ask you something.
Sure.
Because I want to be able to question you about all of the things that you remember saying to her that day. Would it help to refresh your recollection about your conversation with her if I showed you that tracker entry from the 27th that we were talking about?
If you've got it, let's see what it says.
Judge, do you mind if I approach the witness?
Sure.
May I come up, sir?
Sure, come on.
I'm not going to mark this. I'm just using this as not court reporter to refresh the recollection. I'm going to have you look at what I'm handing you, and I want you to take a look at the entry for the 27th of February of 2020. And when you're done reading it and refreshing your memory, let me know.
So it's here.
Don't say what.
Oh, okay.
When you're done, you tell me that you're right.
Correct. And it shows I made that entry.
Okay. And so what did you, if that, talking now from your memory now being refreshed, tell me what it is you told Miss Cooper Jones on that day.
So it's GB had TC with Miss Jones, explained to her our office is awaiting reports. Path of bullet is a possible issue.
GB had TC. I'm going to guess that means George Barnhill had telephone contact with Miss Cooper Jones. Is that right?
Correct.
You informed her that you were waiting what?
Awaiting reports.
Okay.
And that the path of the bullet is a possible issue.
Okay. All right. May I step up again, Judge?
You may.
Thanks. Miss Cooper Jones had lost her son a couple of days before. She was obviously, I'm guessing, upset.
She was.
As she should have been. I mean, this was her youngest child. You may or may not have known that at the time.
I did not.
But she was upset, and it was clear to you that one of the things that she was trying to do was get some information at that point. And in fact, maybe you knew this. I don't know. You tell me. She was kind of frantically reaching out to the Attorney General's office and then to your office, trying to get some information about what had happened in this case. Is that true?
That's my understanding. Yes.
You didn't have a lot to tell her on that day.
Not really. Nothing I probably did not share very much with her other than it was under investigation. They were gathering evidence and that we did not have a report at that time. And I can remember telling her we didn't have any way to get in touch with her. We didn't know who she was, how to get in touch with her. I mean, we walked out of that meeting on Monday. We just walked out as we came in. We didn't take anything with us.
Okay.
In retrospect, we probably should have gotten some sort of an address, but I don't know. I'm not sure what they had at that time as far as the family.
On the, so that's on the 27th. That's a Thursday. That's about 4 or 5 days after this incident, and you are still you're waiting everything being put together.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're waiting further information from the Glenn County Police Department. You did not have any conflict in terms of handling this at this time, right? Early on, there was no conflict.
Correct.
Sometime later, a lot of things started happening in the community. Is that right?
Well, and Miss Jones wanted us off the case, and she was upset about how that my son worked at the DA's office down here, and that there would have been times he worked with Greg McMichael, even though Greg McMichael is no longer there.
Okay. But just to be clear, the fact that your son was an employee of Glenn County DA's office did not create any sort of conflict for you.
Correct. Not under the bar rules,
Right.
but yeah.
And again, I'm just get right to it. I mean, you weren't operating as some sort of covert agent for Jackie Johnson, right?
No.
You were
Not at
acting
all.
independently.
Yes.
You weren't hiding anything from anyone. True?
True.
You weren't purposely trying to keep any information from anyone who was interested in this case whatsoever, right?
Well, I was not answering any of the dozens of attempts from news media trying to get, so no, I was not giving out any information to anyone. So when you say I was hiding information, it wasn't hiding it. I was not sharing information with news media or the dozens of other people that would call up there and demand to be told something.
And that was appropriate, right? I mean,
That is a normal procedure. We don't, that's the way it's done. We don't, the prosecutor doesn't try his case in the media.
This was an ongoing investigation.
It was for us, yes.
You mentioned when you were testifying earlier that in the initial communication or conversation with Ms. Johnson, that you were of the impression that she would be contacting the Attorney General's office in regards to recusing herself and you being appointed the next day.
Yeah, Monday morning.
All right. Now, did she say that, or is that essentially the impression that you got when you spoke to her?
I think I told her that.
Okay. Now, you also testified earlier about some stuff that was going on with the Glenn County Police Department. And you are aware that on that Monday, right around the same time that all of this was going on with Miss Arbery's death, that Miss Johnson was in the process of indicting the Glenn County Police Department police chief. You knew that, right?
I found that out Friday. I think the indictments were released Friday.
And that was a big thing.
It was huge.
And so is it fair to say that dealing with what you've got to deal with, and not you, a district attorney who's in the process of indicting a police chief in her own jurisdiction and other police officers is something that probably would be really time consuming?
Oh, I'm sure it was.
And the case was, as best you know, that case against that Glenn County Police Department police chief was in fact actually presented that week, the week of the 24th, with the indictment being returned at the end of the week. Is that your knowledge?
I don't know the exact date it went to the grand jury. Like I said, for some reason, I thought it was that Thursday, but it could have been earlier in the week when it just released.
Okay.
It seems like maybe the news reporters were reporting it as of Thursday. We learned about it because, like I said earlier, we were concerned maybe one of the people in the room with us had been indicted.
When you
it was not that we had any special knowledge. It was just, now what? Oh man, if they've been indicted, can we even call them up?
when you got the appointment letter from the AG's office, the Attorney General's office on Thursday of that week, you reached out and you let Ms. Johnson know that you received the letter, right?
Correct. Got the appointment letter, but mostly to tell her about that grand jury. And it was like, well, just have them call. And I'm not sure if we were just supposed to call the office or if we were supposed to call. She had an office manager. And I call him an office manager. I don't know really what his role was. A guy named Mark
Spalding?
That sounds correct. But I just know Mark. He had retired from something else and was down there working. And he was sort of I think the straw boss over the secretaries and kind of keep the balls all juggled.
Okay. Okay, so let's move forward a little bit, right?
Mhm.
I think we left off kind of at the end of the week, the 27th, 28th, somewhere thereabouts. Let's move forward into the next month. Threats start coming in.
That was more about mid-month.
Okay.
And the either threats, people are gonna march, they're gonna do this, and it just kept going up, just geometrically. It wasn't just like a steady little yin. It was like going from 2, 4, 8, 16. And next thing you know, the Washington, you've got newspapers, you got CNN, and it's like, as they say, just sweet baby Jesus, what is this? I mean, we have murders. Murders happen. Things happen all over this country. Why does the news media go to one thing and it becomes their?
You hear this, y'all? Y'all hear this?
Well, let me ask you this. Right? Not only were threats.
Did y'all hear this? Did you hear what he said? Woo! Oh my God. Did y'all hear what he said? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my wow. Wow. Okay, let me go ahead and finish playing it for y'all. He's pissed that all these people, but these outsiders come into his town trying to tell him what to do. He ain't like that.
In regards to you.
Yes.
You became aware of threats to your family, true?
Threats to my son, and so serious that he was very concerned about it.
And you would agree with me that regardless of where you are in the case, and I'm talking about Miss Johnson now, regardless of the fact that she had nothing to do with the case anymore, as a district attorney in Glenn County, she still has some responsibility and duty to ensure that there's peace and that any threats are investigated and so forth. Is that true?
Right. Whatever the role of the role of the DA's office in that, correct?
In fact, you had conversations with her about protection, about either the sheriff's department or the police department, making sure that threats were addressed or tracked down or folks were protected.
Well, for my son.
Right.
And in my circuit, I had conversations with the GBI and with the Waycross Police Department and the Ware County Sheriff's Department.
And so,
and we started doing things a little different at our office. We locked our doors. You could, we put a sign out front. You could call this number and we'd see if we'd let you in. And we notified local lawyers. The ones, we have a very small pool of criminal defense lawyers. So we told all of them, said, listen, call and come to the back door.
In regards to phone calls, I mean, there were phone calls between you and Ms. Johnson, and the substance of some of those phone calls would have been in regards to the threats and protection and that sort of thing, putting up poll cams, that sort of thing, right? That
happened at my son's house. The sheriff, I think Sheriff Judd's still the same sheriff. They he parked a deputy's car at my son's house a couple of nights. I'm not sure how many. You'd have to ask my son.
Let me ask you something else.
Right. All right, we're gonna have to take a restroom break.
Yes, sir.
Let's see if we can get by in about 15 minutes, okay? All right, the jury. Don't discuss the testimony, those listening, discuss time. Thank you for letting me know.
They're at the 2 mark. All right, I'm gonna fast forward it. They get ready to take a 15 minutes break, and then we're gonna come back. So I'm gonna fast forward it now, so you guys can see. Okay, hold on. Very interesting, y'all. Very interesting. We're back. There go Griggs, y'all. That's Arbery's father, his auntie, and a pastor friend. The lady by the closest to the camera, that is Mr. Lee Merritt's assistant.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Was told there already. All right, you ready to finish? Okay, have a seat, please, sir. Everybody sit down. Continue with your cross, please.
Thanks, sir. Barnhill, when we left off, I think I was questioning you about threats and responses to threats and so forth. So I want to pick up on this. Did there come a time, or was there an occasion, somewhere in the March or early April, where your office was shut? You went to the office and there was a very specific threat.
Hold on, I want to stop that. Hold on.
Either Greg or Travis McMichael. Do you remember that?
Christine says, we need you back there next week, Miss Sylvia. This needs to be seen. I'm trying to get back, but folks, I may not be able to get back because funds are not funding right now. Funds are not funding. I need your assistance. I definitely want to be back, but I'm being honest. Funds are not funding. All right, let me go ahead and play this.
But a threat that somebody was going to get them. I mean, I know we got some threats like that people were going to, that we got threats basically that the people were going to take them and take care of them. Yeah. I don't remember it being a specific threat of a specific day. I think we got several like that.
Do you remember there being an occasion, you finding out about a threat that concerned you enough that you contacted Miss Johnson to let her know that she probably needed to go ahead and contact the McMichaels in regards to that? Remember that?
That may have come up in a conversation. I think you probably, I know that we got threats to our office. We got people threatening. There was just a multitude of threats. Now, I don't specifically remember. I know at some point I had talked to Jackie about some of the threats, but I can't pinpoint the day or what was specifically said.
Well, let me ask you this. This a very pointed question. Because you were a district attorney, an elected district attorney at that time. If you, in your circuit, received a threat about someone in your circuit, whether it's a layperson, a police officer, heck, a prisoner, someone who is under suspicion of a crime, aren't you duty bound to make sure that that person is either advised of the threat or protected from the potential threat of harm?
I would think you're duty bound to pass it along, either, if not to the individual, but if not to them specifically, to whoever might do something with it. Yes.
Right. I mean, if you, and I know you're not the sheriff, right? You don't go to jail, for example. But if you, as a DA, find out that there's someone in the sheriff's jail and someone in there is threatening to kill him, you've got to at least reach out either to the sheriff or you got to do something about it, right?
Well, we're not going to. Otherwise, if we get a specific threat, we're going to try to notify usually somebody through law enforcement.
Okay.
Now, if it was a threat to one of our named victims or something, we would probably notify them. But, trying to get notice to people that there's death threats coming in.
Because that's appropriate. That's the right thing to do. You are not just a regular layperson. You're an elected district attorney with duties and obligations. True?
I would think so. Yes.
Nonetheless, we got to a point where it became a lot for you. There were threats. You were concerned about the safety of yourself, your son, your family, and you were being asked to recuse yourself from the case because there was a belief that there was some bias on your part.
Correct. And specifically for us to get off and naming that connection back through my son. And let me say this, nobody from Miss Cooper Jones, the Arbery family, none of them ever threatened us or anything. Miss Jones was, the one time I talked to her on the phone, very polite, very nice woman. But the threats, it was bizarre. We would get letters from the West Coast. We would get emails that you would try to look up. They came from wherever. Canada, they would come from all over the United States. And then at the same time, we kept getting just continually pelted by media wanting us to, and to be questioned, to give interviews, release this. We're telling them, no, it's not done. This is still an open case. It's not done.
Now, to be fair,
the reason, can I just say, the reason that is under the Georgia Open Records Act, the legislature, in their wisdom, when we get a request, we have 3 days to respond or it's a misdemeanor. So, we're in the middle of COVID. We're running a skeletal staff at the office. You get up there and like you've had 5 or 6 people email you a request and you've got to give them a response. So we had that, but then we also, then you had people complain that we'd unplugged our phone. They were calling in requests to the county commission office, which they would write down and send to us. So you have this bizarre dynamic. You're running a skeleton staff. You've got multitudes of requests for information that the law says you must respond to in 3 days. And then you're getting these lunatics threatening you. Sometimes very vile threats, sometimes very veiled threats.
So here's the thing, right? Just to be fair, you had a young man who had been shot and killed.
Yes.
Right? You had a family of that young man that had been shot and killed who was very concerned, appropriately and rightfully so, about the circumstances surrounding his death.
Yes.
You had the community that had legitimate concerns about what had happened in that incident, right?
Go ahead on Adam.
All that.
Come on,
You
Adam.
have the threats, right? You have got
Yes or no, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
you have got the family of Mr. Arbery believing very strongly that you have some bias and some conflict, right? And just as Ms. Johnson, back on the 23rd, decided that the appearance of impropriety was important enough for her to step aside, you made a decision because of all of those things that it was appropriate for you to step aside from the case. Is that true? Okay. And you did so, and you contacted Tom Jump, who was the chief of police, acting chief of police.
I'm not sure what he was at that point.
He was a Glenn County Police captain. And you sent that letter to him.
Correct.
Right. You did not intend for that letter that we've seen up there on the screen to be released. That was a correspondence going to Jump.
That was a private correspondence for him if he needed to explain that to his chief, whoever that new acting chief was.
And then somehow or the other, that letter gets released. It's out there in the public domain, right?
Uh-oh.
I think I became aware of it being in the public domain when Michelle told me the letter had run in the New York Times.
You then, in addition to sending that letter to Captain Jump, you contacted the Attorney General's office and let them know in a correspondence, I think it was an email,
Correct.
Number one, you wanted off the case, right? And number two, why you wanted off the case and why you thought it was appropriate for you to be off the case and then go to someone else, right?
Correct.
What's done in the dark comes to light.
All right, and I thank you for sharing your information, everything that you know with this jury. I want to circle back around to where I started, right? Started with the indictment that you're aware of. Nothing wrong with identifying a district attorney identifying that there is an appearance of impropriety in a particular case. Nothing wrong with that, right?
Correct.
Nothing wrong with a district attorney, once they make that recognition, deciding that it's appropriate to get off the case, right?
Correct.
Nothing wrong with a district attorney reaching out to the neighboring district attorney for them to take the case, right? Or to look at the case or advise the police, right?
All three are correct. It's okay to seek advice from a neighboring DA. It's okay to get off a case and get a neighboring DA appointed. Correct.
And in this case, in the instance of knowing what the relationship was between Mr. McMichael having been an ex-employee of Ms. Johnson,
Your son working for her.
Can you tell the jury whether there was anything, and you know because you're a DA or were a DA, anything inappropriate about what she did in communicating with you and you taking the case? Anything wrong with that at all?
I did not believe so. I mean, it was just normal course of business.
Were you some sort of covert Manchurian candidate?
Not Manchurian candidate.
Doing her bidding, or were you acting independently once she was off the case?
I was acting independently.
Oh, acting independently.
Like I said, she was doing most of the evidence.
So why you not be in charge?
And I valued her opinion greatly. I don't know if I'm not sure if she's even been a witness.
Did Jackie have anything to do with that letter that you sent to Tom Jump, that 3-page letter?
Nothing at all to do with
Did you consult with her about that letter?
No, I did not.
Did you ask her opinion? Did she offer an opinion? Did she even know that you were sending that letter?
I do not know, unless Jump told her.
So
I do remember I told Jackie I was getting off the case, but I don't really think I got into the specifics, the deep down specifics of why we were getting off. At that point, COVID had hit. I don't know if y'all know, the world was going crazy.
Excuses,
I
man.
think most of the crazy people were calling my office.
thank you.
Okay.
You're right.
Hopefully briefly. Mr. Barnhill, on cross-examination, Mr. Adams asked you when you got the appointment letter on Thursday.
Correct.
Did you receive the appointment letter from the Attorney General's office on Thursday after the shooting, or did you notify the Attorney General's office on Thursday after the shooting?
No, I think they called me on Thursday, didn't they? I think Ms. Quinton, she called me. I thought it was Thursday. She called me. I don't remember if we got the letter that day or not. They normally mail a letter.
You know, he don't even know what lie he gonna tell next.
But I can't remember if she faxed or emailed one that Thursday and then it came in the letter. I mean, she called and I knew I'd been appointed.
That's what first contact was Thursday, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we had contacted a couple of the.
Fix your lie, man. Fix your lie.
In there. Now, let me back up. That was getting off the case, trying to get the email to get in contact. So I'm back.
So you indicated on cross-examination that Jackie had reached out to you before about previous conflicts, correct?
Yes.
And you had done it this way before?
Yeah. I mean, and DAs were different. We did conflict cases in the Lap Hall Circuit, did some in Tifton. usually local. We're a small office. It's hard for us to pack up and go too far.
Even though it may not have been a lot of times, was that kind of beginning to be the practice of how it would work?
Yeah, and that was, it seemed to be more the practice of the new young attorneys. I mean, you know, I hate to be like the old. You're not there yet, but one day you'll wake up, look in the mirror, your hair will be gray. You don't think or feel any different, but
I mean, you don't know how I've aged, though, do you?
you look just the same to me.
So you start talking about the indictment of the former chief of police, John Powell. Is that right? Did you ever actually read that indictment?
I think I did, but I couldn't tell you what was in it.
That's okay.
I remember when it came out and we were looking at it, because it was pretty serious.
And one of the things about grand jury, is it fair to say that the district attorney themselves, whether it's you, another district attorney, doesn't always handle every single case in front of the grand jury?
No, you send assistants. The bulk of them, our circuit, we had 6 counties. You had 2 grand juries a year. So that's 12 new grand juries a year in a 6-county circuit. I always went on the first day. And then I would go if it was something pretty big.
And
If it was rank and file, I did not try to go. I mean, I'd have been tied up in grand jury all the time.
And sometimes there's another option. It may not be necessarily an attorney that works for you, but can you go out and hire a different attorney and hire them as a special assistant district attorney?
Well, they're not special. They're just an assistant district attorney. Otherwise, could you go hire somebody to work part-time? Sure. A lot of that's, especially with retired people, because you don't want to upset the retirement. There's a limit on hours you can work. But you will see a DA's office hire retired prosecutors and usually put them on part-time, hourly.
Retired DAs?
Retired DAs. I've fought that off. I've had some offers, but
to your recollection, on an indictment that goes before the grand jury, does the prosecutor typically sign it?
every office is different. There's no uniformity in the state of Georgia on indictments. My circuit, the prosecutor who presents it to the grand jury and the officer who is the main testifying officer and the chief and the chair, the foreman, four-man, four-woman of the grand jury, all three of them sign it. And we also bill each count individually.
So let me ask you, I'm going to ask you if you know a name. Do you know the name Tracy Graham Lawson?
She was the retired DA from,
Maybe the Clayton Judicial Center?
was it Clayton or is she from up there somewhere around Atlanta, outskirts of Atlanta?
All right. Now you indicated you've seen the Powell indictment before, right?
I think I saw it. I don't really remember. I mean, I know they got indicted because we looked at it trying to look at who all was named.
And do you recall on the indictment who signed the indictment?
No, I ain't got a clue.
If I show you a copy of it, might it help refresh your recollection?
Sure, if you got a copy, I'll look.
I got an electronic copy right here. You may need your glasses. Take a
Oh,
look
I
at
need
that.
them for everything.
Take a look at that. Let me know if that helps refresh your recollection.
It looks like, and I can't make out who signed it as the prosecutor. That's going to be a law enforcement officer. Looks like in green ink, Tracy, and then Jackie's name is on there, either signed or photocopied. I don't know.
Now, and you're getting at something, right? Which is that what color is Jackie's signature?
Black.
Right? Does it appear to maybe be auto pen or a copy or something like that?
It's kind of, yeah.
All right. Is there a wet signature under that? What we might call an original or wet signature?
Well, there's the green, there's the blue one for Tracy Graham Lawson.
And what is her title?
It says Special Assistant District Attorney.
Sorry, I take it back. One last thing, Mr. Barnhill. This is the last topic I'll cover with you, hopefully. We've talked about tracker in the note system, right? And you indicated that you had entered that one note in there,
Mhm.
correct? And when you enter that note, On Tracker, is there a way to classify what you're doing in that note? For example, like an attorney note, an investigator note. Is there a way to classify?
You can, if you want to, yes.
Okay. In your note, did you classify this note in any way?
I don't really remember.
If I show you the note, would it help?
Sure. I don't know. I'll look to see. Victim contact, yes.
And who was that contact with?
Wanda Jones.
Hold on. Wait a minute, y'all. Wait. That thing said victim contact, so Wanda Jones' name was already on it. So it means he just never contacted her. Oh, Lord. Okay, the truth comes out. Hold on.
I've got plenty of time.
I know you do.
I think everybody realizes that.
I'm retired, Carter.
All right. So I think what we're talking about here is the indictment of the police chief, the Glenn County Police Chief.
Yes.
And we talked about the fact that happened the week of February the 24th, right?
Correct.
Okay. You weren't here in Glenn County during the course of that presentation to the grand jury, right?
I was not there.
All right.
I did not know what was going on.
Right. So you are not in a position to say exactly how much time, how many hours, how many number of hours Jackie Johnson spent in the presentation of that case to the grand jury. You don't know that.
I have no idea.
Right. As we've said before, it's fair to say, it's fair to assume.
Did y'all hear this part already? Because I think I might have hit it.
Sitting police chief.
Wait a minute. Did y'all hear this part already, or did I hit it by mistake again? Did y'all hear this part? Because I was doing something and I hit it. Did y'all hear this part before? I'm waiting for your response. Nobody's responding. Okay, I'm going to continue playing it, so just in case y'all hear the same thing. All right.
In the county that you are an elected official in, and indicting several other officers from that same department with ramifications up to the county commission, that's a big deal.
Very big.
That's all.
Anything on redirect?
No, sir, I do not have anything else on redirect.
Ladies and gentlemen, this will be our last witness for the day. I didn't hear any squeals of. There were some other witnesses that were scheduled, but through nobody's fault, they can't be here today. But we will have them here on Monday morning, I am sure. And so I'm going to release you for the weekend. Remember, don't discuss the case among yourselves or listen to any discussion of it. And I'll see you Monday morning at 9. All right, Gert. Everybody, I give you permission to leave.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Barnhill, you can come down out of the box if you like, but don't leave the courtroom until I give you the okay, all right?
Your Honor, may he be excused?
Excuse me, just not out of the courtroom until the jury's gone. Y'all can sit down if you want to, obviously.
Okay, guys, we cannot leave the courtroom when the jurors are still leaving. They wait a few minutes before, so all the jurors get in their car.
Thank you.
Hold on. They wait for all the jurors to get out, to get to their car and leave before any of us can leave. So we usually stay in there about 15, 20 minutes after, 10, 15 minutes after the jury are gone. That's when we come out. But they wait till the jury gets completely out the parking lot before we can leave. And the jury comes in earlier than we do as well. So that's the way they operate over there. So that's why we're sitting around and waiting. The judge is on the bench still. So that's what happens. I'll let y'all watch a little bit of it. I'll sit around and stuff.
Do you ever record recording in the defense?
Huh?
Just be on the phone?
Be on the phone.
Y'all got my phone number.
Yeah.
I'll be in White Cross.
It's dry
Another day out.
because I left it open.
It's Jeffrey. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've got a whole list. Yeah, but yeah, Chris Carver. And that's only because I don't do that in big letters because it's just the first one that pops up. A question.
I don't know. He says just having conversation with everybody. He knows everybody there. They all know each other. Everybody knows each other in that community. Everybody. Look at Kokomo over there, y'all. Look at Kokomo. Look at Kokomo. We could stare at our buddies. All right, I'm gonna mute it because the conversation getting on my nerve that you can't really hear it too well. We're gonna turn that down and we go watch the folks. Let's watch them. Look at Kokomo. You're welcome. Yeah, guys, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Let us push this out into algorithm. I do have my interview with Mr. Let me go get it. I got my interview with his aunt, my interview with his attorney. Merritt. I'm trying to look at my phone. Trying to find my phone. Hold on. Let me send my little reminder phone thing. All right, y'all. We're gonna go ahead and watch my interview. Hold on a second.
Have a good weekend.
All right, let me do my interview with Mr. I'm doing my interview with Mr. Merritt. Doing my interview with Mr. Merritt. Okay, you ready? Here we go, guys. Here we go. An exclusive. All right, here we go.
So first day of testimony, full testimony. What did you think?
Oh, it's a long day. We understand that the process for these trials is getting each piece of evidence in incrementally. And sometimes you don't see everything until the end of the trial. And so today was a very weighty day of putting in some facts and law before the jury. It's exhausting for the family. Of course, the most important part of the day for me was when Wanda Cooper Jones took the stand and testified about her experience.
Ms. Cooper Jones didn't testify in the first murder trial, and she didn't testify in the hate crime trial. This is her first time on the stand, as far as I know.
Yeah, she's given impact statements both at the federal and the state level, but this was the first time that she was actually a witness in the trial.
How do you think she did that?
Oh, I think she comported herself very well. She's always comported herself with a great deal of grace, but in this particular case, she had to really begin to explain what the experience was like dealing with this prosecutor's office, and I think she was able to communicate that to the jury.
Certainly. They asked her, about whether it seemed like while she was up there, she was talking about her struggles, trying to get a hold of something.
Yeah.
The horror that they went through, 70 days of not knowing answers, not being able to get answers. Colin,
That's not Kobe in the background. Kobe not here, Kim.
The police department, and couldn't get a response.
Yeah.
That's the
That
doors.
was an experience, and
The door in the
she
back
did something
back there. Here, you see the
extraordinary.
people leaving?
The truth is, but for the
That's the
actions of
door.
Wanda Cooper Jones, we all probably wouldn't be here. The three McMichaels men probably would not be in prison, and Jackie Johnson wouldn't be facing criminal charges. As she explained today, it was her going from a grieving mother to a private investigator to an activist that brought us this far, I believe.
As far as yesterday's opening arguments from Steele, when he made a comment in regards to how she's been waiting for 5 years, what do you think about that statement?
I thought it was a bit self-serving. Obviously, the trial was delayed because Mr. Steele was involved in a very extensive trial in Atlanta, and that caused Wanda Cooper Jones to have to wait for 5 years in order to get answers about what happened to her elected district attorney, the person responsible for doing justice as their primary concern. What happened in that case? She had to wait for 5 years. Jackie Johnson got the benefit of not being in prison for the last 5 years, where many of us believe she belongs.
This seems much different than the federal hate crimes trial. It seems much different than a murder trial. In this case, you've got the defense team calling it a slaughter. They're saying that what happened was horrible, that he was murdered, that he was chased down. Things, that we didn't hear so much in the last trial. What impact do you think that might have on the jury? Do you think it gets sympathy for the defense?
It is, I think, a good strategy move for the defense attorney to embrace the idea that what we all know, that what the McMichaels did was just purely evil. And we didn't see that from both sides before. But in this case, it's a bit of them talking out of both sides of their neck, because you also hear the defense team referring to Ahmaud as the assailant, as the suspect. You don't hear them referring to him as the victim. In fact, you hear them referring to Gregory McMichael and Travis McMichael as the victim. So they get to in this case, talked out of both sides of their neck.
Thank you for that.
You think that's a good strategy?
I think it could work. Honestly, if I were on the defense team, I would try to separate myself from the behavior of the McMichaels and William Roddy Bryant. But ultimately, you cannot steal the sympathy that this mother has, that this family has. You were not the victim. And, you know, as much as Jackie Johnson will try and her team will try to make her the victim, that's just not what the facts bear out.
They were just doing when they went through the law, they're making it look like Jackie was, but we've only heard part of, you know.
Yeah. Only pieces of the evidence are coming in. I do suspect more of the evidence will come in. I have spoken extensively with the state prosecutor in this case, and they do believe that they have more than sufficient evidence to establish each element of the crime. And you know, it's day one of evidence in a trial that's expected to last at least 10 days into evidence, 2 weeks.
If you were a betting man, do you expect to see Ms. Johnson take the stand here?
Oh, there is no way that Ms. Johnson doesn't take the stand if she plans to be acquitted because of how Mr. Steele decides to open. Mr. Steele offered statements and explanations about conversations that Ms. Johnson had on the phone. And there's no way to prove up those statements unless Jackie Johnson takes the stand. If she doesn't take the stand, then the state can say that Mr. Steele and his team are liars because they promised to present facts that never came to evidence.
At this rate, do you think the defense could have an argument for a directed verdict?
No, not at this point. Not even close.
They should have called Wanda even if she didn't have to, or victims' bill of rights, or whatever. She had to.
Do I think Jackie Johnson should call Wanda? Yeah, I think that her primary concern was to do justice, that she knew that her mother was desperately trying to figure out what happened to her son, who was riddled with bullets, and that she had an obligation, the same way that she argued, or her team argued, that she had an obligation to protect the McMichaels when they were under threat, that her jurisdiction, even if she recused herself, her jurisdiction in Glenn County never went away.
So there was a point where they were talking about the father meeting with her. So why didn't she meet with Wanda?
I mean, I think she was purposely avoiding meeting with Miss Wanda Cooper Jones on that particular day. I'm sure she has an excuse that Wanda and Marcus at the time were not coordinating meetings with elected officials. So.
Well, thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right, so that was my interview with that. I got more, y'all. You know, I get to talk to them. Hold on. I got more for y'all. Hold on. It's just me finding them. Me and my non-using my non-using but of in Apple product. Hold on a second. Hold on. I think I got it. All right, here's his aunt. I think I had it sideways. I gotta try transfer it over. I don't know. Hold on a second.
If it was the opposite way, Quez would have killed.
Okay, hold on. I got his auntie. Y'all ready? His auntie has something to say. His auntie has something to say, y'all. There you go. The auntie to Omar Arbery.
If it was the opposite way, Quez would have killed one of their kids. Look how things would have went. You got to think about that. When you do stuff, don't wait and try to buy your way out. Don't try to buy your way out. Except that you did wrong. Y'all did my nephew wrong. That's the bottom line. It took 74 days before anybody got arrested. And if somebody else wouldn't have stepped in and did that, there probably still wouldn't have been no damn arrest. So don't come telling me about no Jackie Johnson waiting for 5 years. Do she know what she put our family too. So she could have did something. When they didn't arrest them that day, when they went out there, she should have told them to lock them up. She is the DA. She should have told them to lock them up. And I'm very upset. Because she had the authority to tell them to lock them up. Don't try to push your way to somebody else, but they could have did. You should have did. Since you say you took care of your sister and brother, folks, somebody would have did one of them like that. You would have wanted them to be charged and arrested. So how you think we feel? Yo, the Glenn County done just ripped my family up. With all this lies and covering up so much. I'm just tired of it. So many people scared to come to the law in Glenn County. You got to treat everybody the same. Y'all welcome. Thank you. I'm hurt.
Thank you.
I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
Have a good one.
Okay, y'all. All right, let's go to the next one. Let me go. I got some more for y'all. Hold on. Got some more for y'all. There she goes. She has more to say. She got more. Auntie got more to say. Hold on.
Wear the mask, or you prefer to?
Yeah, I want to wear my mask.
Okay.
Because I already got a cold.
Okay.
I really signed the cold.
Do you mind showing your face or no?
You can't see my face?
She don't want her face showing.
Okay, that's right. I don't know if I can hear you all under the mic though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
probably.
can talk loud. I talk loud.
Okay, all right. So go ahead, just state your first and last name for me and spell it out.
Yes, I'm Diane, D-I-A-N-E, Jackson, J-C-K-S-O-N.
And then how you related to Ahmaud Arbery.
I'm Marcus Arbery, oldest sister, Ahmaud's father. I'm Ahmaud's oldest aunt on the daddy's side.
So tell me your reaction to what occurred today in court as far as the jury selection and the opening statements.
Well, one of the open statements really got next to me, and it kind of had my heart racing a little bit. And he got up there and said, Jackie Johnson was waiting for 5 years. Do we know what we going through to make a comment like that? We waiting to see Ahmaud come back home, but he ain't coming back home. I'm so tired of people just trying to cover up when they do wrong and try to buy their way through life. I'm just tired of it. Until people understand that they got to be accountable for what they did, we're going to continue to go backwards. Everybody know that was wrong what happened to Ahmaud. And everybody know this was a cover-up of 74 days. And they had saw the video. They're coming to justify him.
So what is your reaction to basically the first trial when it came to Ahmaud Arbery's murder got a lot of national attention, but when it comes to Jackie Johnson's trial, it's not a lot of national attention. Why do you think that is?
Ain't no more money. Ain't no money. When Ahmaud first got murdered, it was millions of dollars floating around him. Ain't no more money.
When you say millions of dollars, what type of money?
Yeah, what do you say about
Millions. And I can tell you that there are millions. Millions came through him. Ain't no money now. Everybody got the money except my family. That's right. We ain't got nothing. We still working.
What do you want Ahmaud Arbery to be remembered for? What do you want his legacy to be?
I want Ahmaud to be remembered that he didn't just love one person. Ahmaud loved everybody. Ahmaud was a lovable person. I remember when my daddy fell off the trap and hurt himself. Ahmaud gave my daddy his check every week. every week. Ahmad loved everybody. His sister, his brother, his daddy, his uncles, his aunts, his grandparents. He loved everybody. Ahmad didn't have no pick on who he loved. He loved his whole family. He was from his dad's house to his mama's house. I just want people to stop getting stuff so twisted up that just put it on one person. This boy had two parents. And I watch my brother every day and see what he's going through. Everybody act like he don't exist. That's his dad. Especially when you got your pop there every time you call them and you need them and they there for you. I look at things and until we get stuff right, we're going to continue to go backward and stop lying. All the lies has got to stop. Everybody got to be accountable for what they do wrong. Everybody.
Over time, you touched on your answer about your reaction to what Brian Steele said about basically Jackie Johnson saying that she's been waiting for so long for this. Can you tell your reaction again?
I was so angry when he said that you talking about she waited for 5 years for this him. What the? I ain't gonna say it. I'm so angry. What do you think we've been going through for 5 years? And you, yes, I believe it in my heart she had something to do with it.
Hold on. Hold on a second. I want to address Toya's comment. Toya D says, y'all making excuses because y'all like Brian and Keith. Disgusting. What excuses do you hear anybody making? What excuses do you hear anybody making? What excuses? I need you to enlighten us. I see that I just said this would happen. I'm just trying to see what excuse somebody made. She pops up in here, don't hear anything, and then she's assuming somebody made an excuse. So I need her to tell what excuse is anybody making. Let us know what excuse. What excuse did anybody make? I don't think she watched the trial. I don't think she's watching it because she's picking and choosing what she wants to say. She's not watching the trial at all. She's speechless. You called her on her fake news trolling. Maybe drop the link and she speak up. Okay, let me drop the link then. Hold on. Go to the link. Hit the link. Hit the link because we don't know what you're talking about. We're making excuses because we like Brian and Keith. Okay, yeah, Tracy said, right, because from the day one, several people in the chat said that they hate that Steele and Adam took this case. So what? I'm waiting for the excuses that she claimed that we have. Well, let me speak for myself. Excuses that I have. I'm waiting for her to explain what excuses that she's mentioning that I have. All I can do is deal with what I said. Because I remember I corrected you before on something, and I'm trying to see what you're insinuating. I'm trying to understand what she's saying. See, I hate when people do that. Put comments in the chat, and then when you try to address it, then they don't have anything to say. Laverne says, y'all love bullying people in the chat. No one can disagree without being threatened. It's like you thought following them would bring the same YSL group. It didn't, and that's okay, right? I don't understand what your statement is. I'm asking a question. It's not bullying. If somebody's bold enough to put a comment in the chat, I'm just asking the question. It's an open forum. Who threatened anybody? What are you talking about? Like, it's like you thought following them would bring you to say, no, I did not think that. I'm bringing you facts and bringing you information about what's happening in the community. Obviously, you stuck on to wanting something happening with celebrities. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here for celebrities. I'm here for everyone to be educated what's happening in our community, what affects us in the community. But you guys, I'm going to say you, Laverne, you want YSL stuff because you're into the celebrity stuff. I'm not into celebrity. That's why I'm doing all type of cases. I don't just do celebrities. I'm waiting for some dialogue. Hit the link. I'm waiting for some dialogue. Instead of people scared hide behind the screen and making all kinds of accusation and not knowing the facts. You're saying stuff, your personal experience in your head, not anything I've said. Who said I was waiting for it to be like YSL? No, because if I was waiting for it to be like YSL, I would still be doing YSL stuff. I would still be talking about YSL. Like all the other people still hopping on Young Thug. I haven't done that. I've been going on different cases. You guys chose not to follow other cases, but I'm bringing the information to you. So me trying to make it like a YSL is way off track. Way off track. Because I could milk that YSL ticket too. I could have milked the Lucci thing. I had the information on Lucci way back. Did I bring that out? No, because I'm not into just celebrity. I'm dealing with stuff that's happening to us as a community. You want the YSL clicks and views, not me. I know they won't respond. They come in here and make all kinds of asinine comments and then don't want to talk about it. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Bully is the wrong word, hon. Go get your better definition, better word than bully. You can disagree with me, but I'm going to give you my facts. Now it's bullying. You don't know what bully is. Asking a question about why they feel certain thing is not bullying. It was very well nice to her on last night. All right, let me go ahead and finish playing what she's saying, and maybe somebody will come in here and have the guts to get on the panel and say what they have to say. Have a dialogue. Here we go. I think
something to do with.
Come on now. What is things playing around with me? Oh, it's the end. It's the end of her comment. Okay. Let me go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. Hey, Sassy S, what's going on? All right, here comes Mr. Meredith again. Here we go.
Throughout my civil rights practice and the civil rights practices that I studied, we rarely see a prosecutor on trial for failing to uphold their duty of office. Although we often allege, at least, that this kind of violation is pretty commonplace, there's a reason they don't bring it up, because it's difficult to prove. It has a lot to do with things that are implied, a lot to do with things that are suggested. And now that the state here is taking an oath of office and imputing a certain amount of integrity into it. You know what I mean when I say that? They literally have to impute the integrity into it and then prove the case before the jury. They're proving that she violated her oath of office by first removing herself from the case without following the appropriate channels, and then by referring the case over to George Barnhill, someone she would have known was going to tank the case, and then deceiving the Attorney General by not letting them know that she had already referred the case to George Barnhill, and going further than that, suggesting George Barnhill himself, despite his obvious insufficiency or inadequacy for the case. So that's
now y'all hear what Lee just said? You hear what Lee just said? Okay, I'm gonna rewind it for a minute because it's kind of low. Y'all gotta listen very intentionally. But listen to what Lee just said. This is why the case is being brought, because the other guy, Barnhill, had already taken the case. She had sent it over to him, but he said that Barnhill was basically going to tank that case, because you heard Barnhill on the stand. The way he was very, very biased, very biased. You're welcome for my 4 girls. You're welcome. He was very, very biased.
Throughout my civil rights practice and the civil rights practices that I studied, we rarely see a prosecutor on trial for failing to uphold their duty of office. Although we often allege, at least, that this kind of violation takes place.
Did you hear? You rarely see a prosecutor being taken to court for stuff like this, right? So this in itself is something big, because they don't really ever do it, right?
There's a reason they don't bring it up. It's because it's difficult to prove. It has a lot to do with things that are implied, a lot to do with things that are suggested. And now that the state here is taking an oath of office and imputing a certain amount of integrity into it. You know what I mean when I say that? They literally have to impute the integrity into it and then prove the case before the jury. They're proving that she violated her oath of office by first removing herself from the case without following the appropriate channels, and then by referring the case over to George Barnhill, someone she would have known was going to tank the case, and then deceiving the Attorney General by not letting them know that she had already referred the case to George Barnhill, and going further than that, suggesting George Barnhill himself, despite his obvious insufficiency or inadequacy for the case. So that's what they have to prove. It's a difficult thing to prove. And it calls into the integrity of state actors that most of the witnesses have served with for decades, as we hear. And so we didn't think it would be easy. But I think as we listen to Mr. Fowler respond to the demurrer, the general demurrer, we see that, although the defense is making cognizable arguments, it can be overcome. I think he overcame it today. He's left the judge would have returned tomorrow, so the case goes forward.
Yeah, obviously still near the beginning, but the jury's heard testimony for 2 days on the thing.
And that's the other thing. We're near the beginning.
Is this argument that Jackie did these things to try to tank the case? That's the message they're getting at this point.
No, I think what they're getting is that the Glenn County, or yesterday's, what my takeaway from yesterday's presentation was, Glenn County Police Department went about things the wrong way, but that had nothing to do with Jackie. Today, I heard that George Barnhill absolutely went about things the wrong way, but that had very little to do with Jackie. They're still going to have to present witnesses to tie up what Jackie Johnson's culpability was, and I don't think we're there yet, but this is the second day of testimony. We anticipate at least 8 more on the plaintiff side, or on the prosecution side, the plaintiff attorney.
Fair enough. 8 more days?
Yeah, of evidence.
Yeah, no, that's great.
All right.
All right, so he's basically saying that everybody's passing the book. Everybody's blaming everybody else, but not, I think Jackie may go. Glenn, that's exactly what I was saying. Glenn says, Sassy C, sadly, I think Jackie may walk. The state has done a horrible job presenting the evidence. Thank you, Glenn. That's all I've been saying. Thank you. I'm glad you came up in here, Glenn, to really because folks are saying that, I don't know what, she didn't come back to say what, so I'm not going to put any words in her mouth, but she's saying that we're making excuses. But you're basically saying what I'm saying. Basically, from what I'm hearing, from what I've seen, I don't see Jackie being the culprit. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying based on what they have presented, what everyone is saying, nobody's saying anything that can solidify a conviction on Jackie. Now, that other guy that was on the stand, I would say, yes, that guy needs to be convicted. That guy needs to be indicted. But they didn't bring him up. Stephanie Oliver got on the stand and said, exactly, Jackie didn't obstruct her. The reasonable doubt. Thank you. I'm so glad, Glenn, you're in here. Thank you. Oh my God. Yes, next level. I mean, this is because everybody's so stuck in their emotions right now. They're not dealing with the facts that are being presented in court. That is what we have to deal with. We have to deal with what evidence is being shown in court. And so far, the state has not done so. The defense is winning, period. I'm rooting for the state, but I have to be objective. Exactly. It is what it is. Steele and Adams are doing a daggone good job. And it has nothing to do with me liking them better than this person. I didn't want them to be, I came with the thought and mindset that, hey, this might be a loss for Mr. Steele. You know what I mean? That's the mindset I came in here with. But then when I sat in there and heard so many testimony of people getting on the stand and what they're saying, I'm like Glenn. I'm pushing on to the other side, but I try to be very, 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 very centered in the middle of it, coming in with no thoughts, just bringing the facts to you guys, not having any opinion or anything like that, but and I think Miss Wanda did an excellent job on the stand. She did an excellent job, and I commend her because she's still fighting for her son. She's still fighting for somebody to be held accountable for what happened. Not just the McMichael, because they allowed the McMichaels to get away with the stuff. They allowed the McMichaels to get away with the stuff that they got away with. Now, you start off with the police department, right? Okay, supposedly, guys, I just looked up. When the McMichaels were on trial, I knew the McMichaels would be found guilty. Once Travis testified and Linda tore him up on cross. Yep. Now look, this is what I went and just saw on the paper here. They said that basically, hold on a second, I'm gonna show you this. They said the Supreme Court of Georgia throws out the indictment charging ex-police chief with misconduct. Okay. The highest court on Tuesday, this is back in 2024. Right, April 2024. The highest court in Georgia on Tuesday threw out an indictment that charged a former police chief and a top aide with felonies for failing to investigate allegation of misconduct within their department. The Supreme Court ruled that the 2021 indictment indictment against former Glenn County Police Chief John Powell and Brian Scott, his former chief of staff, was fatally flawed by technical errors. A grand jury in coastal Brunswick, 70 miles south of Savannah, indicted Powell and Scott on August 2021 for felony charges of violation of their oath of office. The indictment accused both men of failing to investigate one of their drug task force officer after being shown evidence that the officer had improper relationship with a man convicted of drug crimes. Oh, this has had nothing to do with Amar. Okay, it had nothing to do with them, but they threw out the. Okay, never mind, y'all. This had nothing to do with Amari, Arbery, Ahmaud Arbery. I'm making up names for them. They said Powell was indicted the first time and placed on administrative leave in February 2020, just days after Ahmaud Arbery was chased and fatally shot in Glenn County by white men who spotted the young black man running in their neighborhood. Glenn County police made no arrests, which came only after the Georgia Bureau of Investigation took over the case. More than 2 months later, none of the misconduct charges against Powell stem from his department handling Arbery. No, so that his indictment has nothing to do with Ahmaud Arbery. Okay, that one didn't have anything to do with it. Never mind. Never mind. He was never indicted for Ahmaud Arbery's case. Okay, let's go read somebody said. Right, that lady didn't the injustice of the family like they're thinking. I wasn't in her. It wasn't in her. Yeah, it wasn't her. When Michaels was on trial, I knew. Okay, we got that one. I read that one already. Watching from the start a couple of minutes before. Okay, Sam. I thought he would lose based off everything we've heard for years in the media, but the people they put on the stand made him look like differently at this. Yep. Walking into a fundraiser, catch y'all a bit. See you later. I agree with you. I think they got the wrong person. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sylvia, for that. You're welcome. Glenn says, I believe personally that this is a slam dunk civil case because the GCPD and prosecution stalled the indictment, but it's not a criminal culprit. Nope, it's not criminal. It's a civil rights. Yep. It's a lawsuit for civil rights. Do you have to go through this first before you can go do a civil right one, Glenn? Do you know anything about that? But anyway, guys, I just wanted to bring this up. I see folks that that made comments that is not commenting anymore. I wonder why. We can have an educated debate now. All this is on the record for civil. I think so too, Glenn. I think this is what they're banking it on, civil, because it's going to bring out some stuff from this case. Okay. All right. Aren't you going to jail? No, I am not. Oh, you know what, Maria? Hold up on that one. I'm going to end this live and we're going to have a conversation. She says, well, I'm just going to say this because I like your channel. Just please try to stay out of trouble this time. Miss Sylvia, seems like you get in trouble every case. You get, oh, Lord. Okay. I'm going to end this and we're going to have a real powwow because some of you guys are misinformed. Some of you guys are going by fake news and I'm going to correct you guys. And I noticed that my last case, my last court appearance, nobody talked about it. And I'm wondering why. Because it is set for you guys to hear negative things about me because the hatred for Sylvia is so strong that we're going to talk about it in a minute. So Maria, Laverta, y'all all come back. Let's come back. You said you saw the information. Anybody could get indictment now. You know that, right? You can indict a ham sandwich. Did you hear the attorney say that on my live? But I'm gonna explain everything to you. You're gonna get the facts. They still talk. Look, because Miss Next Level, if I don't say something, they continue to put out the fake news, and the fake news seems like to overpower everything. Sometimes you just have to tell what your facts are. And then the facts is, here's the deal. I went to court on Tuesday, and nobody talked about it. Monday, I'm sorry, not on Tuesday, on Monday, and nobody talked about it. Not one soul talked about my win in court, but they got to talk about the negativity of the lies that they put out to get me into court. I'm going to end it and start over. Okay.
Thank you for watching the infamous Sylvia channel, where laughter and fun make up our panel. Together we build this digital spree. We appreciate you and our growing family. With mods by our side and chat flowing free in this online space. It's just you and me, we laugh until tears roll down like the rain. In this virtual world, you ease all my pains. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mods and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. We cherish the moments, the highs and lows, from the latest gossip to stories untold. You're more than a viewer, you're part of the crew in this space of ours. It's all because of you. This digital world where emotion is shared, every post and reaction showing we care. The love is real in this virtual domain. With every sign, enjoys what we'll gain. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mods and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Mods and chat, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the night. This digital world where emotion is shared, every post and reaction show when we care. The love is real in this virtual domain. With every sign, enjoys what we'll gain. We're a family, not just a show. Every click and comment makes us grow. Minds in check, keeping the vibe so right. Together we shine like stars in the